ليس عليكم جناح أن تبتغوا فضلا من ربكم فإذا أفضتم من عرفات فاذكروا الله عند المشعر الحرام.
It was very ego driven. I wanted to beat everyone in that class. And one by one, I started surpassing everyone very quickly. But I took satisfaction in it, I took pride in it. And I kind of reminded everyone that, I'm after you. I'm after you, I'm going to come for you. Yeah? Don't get comfortable where you're sitting, I'm going to come for it. So that's kind of the attitude I had. The Qur'an, what it does is, like I say, it's always an anchor. It maintains your ethics, it maintains your values. So if you are someone who's a very ethical person, because of the Qur'an, they go into, the legal industry or business, you'll be like an ambassador of Islam in that field. But there is a lot of untapped areas of society that just aren't there. And you see more and more Muslims go into entrepreneurship and different areas. This is really good, and be more successful in different areas.
So it was a Monday or a weekend, Sunday, and it's going about my day. And this video that I watched about 4 or 5 years ago actually popped into my mind, which was a video of yourself during one of a graduation, a Hifdh graduation ceremony. And I remember watching this video, and it was you discussing a certain part of your Hifdh journey, which we'll get into later. And I just remember thinking, mashallah, tabarakallah, it's very inspirational, it sounds amazing. And at one point when we started the Hifdhstatus podcast, I always had in my mind to reach out to yourself actually, subhanAllah. And it just crossed my mind, obviously from Allah Azza wa Jal. I dropped a message on a network that we have full of mashayikh and imams, said, anyone got his number? And a few people reached out. And at the time you were in Medina. I think
I was in Mecca.
You were in Mecca?
Yeah. How was I? Yeah, I was in Mecca. Yeah, I was in Mecca.
After the
Hajj. Yes.
MashaAllah.
So,
what was that experience like? Hajj. Take us through 2026, 1447.
Hajj, mashallah. I had already been Hajj once before in 2013. I went with my mum. I was 19 at the time. So as I like to tell people, it's entirely different. You have to go to Hajj, I would say, with life experience. You would have, cut yourself a bit, fell over a bit, to use the metaphor. And you really need to go in there with a few scars and a few mistakes, a few regrets perhaps, and lots of hopes and wishes. So I was very excited to go. I went with my wife. Alhamdulillah, I think at the time it was quite grueling, as people say, but looking back now, I think the more effort you put into anything in life, but especially Hajj, it's a lot sweeter at the end. Our package, what happened, for those unfamiliar with the Hajj process these days, what happens is you make a profile. It's on a platform called Nusuk, and there's loads of different packages. You shortlist them in advance, and then the Saudi Ministry of Hajj, they announce on this day there's going to be a sales day. Now what that means is at a certain time everyone's going to be allowed into the portal, and you just have to purchase. Think of like Boxing Day sales, when everyone's at the door, 9 a.m. it opens, you buy what you can before they close again. So that's essentially what happened. And on the first sales day, by the time we got in, people get logged out, it crashes. So by the time we were able to get in, everything was taken.
Wow.
That was made available that day. The same thing happened a second time on the second sales day.
Wow.
And then it came to the third sales day. And we got in, we got a package we wanted, but then it wasn't allowing us to purchase. So thereafter, my wife had some contingency packages, and then we chose one and we went for it. We weren't entirely sure what was in the package.
Wow.
And we just tawakkal Allah, we went, and we were very happy. And then we realized afterwards the flight is from Paris, not from London.
Really?
Yeah. So, but it's actually quite amazing. Actually, I'll share this story. A friend of mine, he came to the UK 2021 during when COVID was slowly coming to an end, but there were still restrictions. And he came to London from America, and he thought he'd do a day trip to Paris. And in the end, what happened is Eurostar cancelled his train ticket. And they gave it a refund, and they also gave him some compensation for disruption and inconvenience.
Sure.
So what he's been trying to do since 2021, every holiday period, he tries to sell those tickets. Now he has £300 worth of credit. So he's trying to sell them every year, and everyone's, I don't want to go Paris, I don't want to go France, and why would I pay £150? He's selling it for on a discount, £150.
Sure, half price.
And I would tease him. I said, why don't you just give it away? You're never going to come back here. Just give it away. Why are you being like this? Why are you being difficult? He's like, no, I could make it a few bucks here and there. So I would tease him, and then sometimes he'd get a bit sensitive about it. So then I let it go. So that was 2021. Then 2026 comes, and I message him.
And he still hasn't sold it.
He still hasn't sold it. And I message him. I say, have you still got those Eurostar tickets? And he responds, well, look who's come round. Yeah. And then I message him, and then we negotiate, and then we agree a fee. And I agree like £100 for basically £300. Fine. Yeah. And then he says, okay. And then he says to me, he says, Abubakr, why do you want to go to Paris? You know, a big fan of France. You've always, not really wanted to go. You don't even like the French football team. I'm not rooting for France this World Cup, by the way. And then I said, this is not a move I'm doing on you. It's agreed now, yeah? We agreed 100, we agree 100. But basically my flight from Hajj is from Paris, actually, because we couldn't find any in London. And he goes, oh my, I can't sell it to you now, okay? Please, just take it for free. Take it and make dua for my family. And I said, no, I'll make dua for your family anyway. We agreed, it's fine. Yeah. He goes, no, I refuse to give it to you. So you agree and we take it.
Allah Akbar.
Obviously, low-key, I was like, yes. Got free
but you had to put up of course, the
performance, you have to do it, isn't it? Yeah. And then, alhamdulillah, we took the Eurostar, and from Paris, we took the plane to Dubai. Then Dubai, we were transit. Then we flew to Medina.
Sure.
Then Medina, we were there in the beginning before Hajj.
Oh, so you went to Medina first?
Yeah, and we spent time in Medina. Then we came Mecca,
nice.
Did Hajj, everything. And then I received your message.
SubhanAllah.
And it's amazing, actually, how, things work out.
That's a phenomenal concept. Like, obviously, there's so much to discuss, but just that. He had that train ticket for all those years. Little did you know, even though you were the one that tried to convince him to sell it, it was going to be your risk.
Saving it for me, and my wife, exactly. So it's amazing. And then what's amazing is he's from America, so I don't really speak to him all the time, and I obviously don't see him often. So it's very easy when you go Arafah or something like this, you would forget someone like that, perhaps.
Yeah.
But because he gave me this favor, I remembered him more than perhaps I would have. I said, you remember your journey throughout, and I thank him all the time. Allah bless him, his family. So it's amazing how it comes full circle, really. So it's amazing. So it was a grueling journey, you can imagine. We had to go to Paris, then from Paris go to Dubai, from Dubai then transit, and there was a bit of nervousness because of what's happening in the Middle East right now. Then from Dubai, then go to Medina. Medina was very nice, the city of peace. It was really amazing. And I would recommend people, if work allows, that you go on a package that's quite long, and you start in Medina, or you might even start in Mecca, but it starts a few days before Hajj, because what it is if you come tired and if you come with old habits from back home, you need to find yourself in the spiritual space to be ready for Hajj. So if you come a week or two earlier, you sort of get used to praying the haram regularly, reading Qur'an more than you perhaps normally would. You behave a lot better, you speak a lot better, you have more patience. That is the right frame of mind you need to go into Hajj. Sure. So I know a lot of people can't make it work with annual leave and things like this, but if you can,
it's a warm-up period.
Really, I in the beginning thought, oh my God, we're going to do all these days, annual leave. Oh, it's such a long package. It was nearly a month long, our package, but alhamdulillah, in the end, you see, it really puts you in that frame of mind. And when you go somewhere else, you can escape from everything. And it really, it's like you can't just sprint immediately, can you? As fast as you can, you'll burn out. But if you warm up slowly, it's like a warm up. If you use
to perform optimally, you need to warm up. You need to have, of course, that.
So it is like Medina was like a warm up, and then we came to Mecca a few days earlier, did Umrah. So then you get a bit faster with your running, and the Hajj is, you could say, is the spiritual sprint.
Yeah.
And mashallah, it was amazing, and everything you appreciate. I mean, I did my Hifdh a long time ago. I never really appreciated the Hajj verses, but this time I really appreciated the Hajj verses. Surah Baqarah is a surah I memorized really early on, so it's always been there. So. And the only time people quote the Hajj verses during the Hajj period for the workshops. But now, alhamdulillah, it's, you really appreciate the verses. And it's amazing. I didn't even think that everyone here listening at home knows the dua, the famous dua, رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. But yet it's placed in the Hajj verses. So you're quite curious as to why that is. Should it be somewhere else? And then you realize that Hajj, it is a commitment to improve, obviously, your akhirah, first and foremost, but also to improve your dunya. You cannot make dua just for your dunya or just for your akhirah as well. It's for both. And the fact that Allah put it there in those passages shows that is how you should approach Hajj, that you are making an effort for your dunya and your akhirah.
Yeah, no, that's super. That's amazing. That's amazing, subhanAllah. Just that story, I'm already mind blown. And the ajib thing as well is, I think of that ticket example. I also think about these podcasts, for example, right? In an interesting way, subhanAllah. A lot of people, when they look at these podcasts, they think it's been organized from like a year before and a date was put in. But actually, I was in Medina about 2 weeks ago, right? And I've just come here for a short period of time. I messaged you thinking you're going to be in London, right, or the UK. That's where you're based, of course, and you're there, right? You're over there, subhanAllah, and I'm heading back to Medina next 2 days, and we just made it just worked, subhanAllah. I messaged you, and then you eventually were convinced to come on, alhamdulillah, and it would have been amazing to do a podcast in Medina. Our previous podcast was actually recorded there with.
Oh wow, I had no idea.
Bukhari.
I thought it's all in London.
Yeah, it was in Medina, Wow. And it's actually interesting that you mentioned, subhanAllah, perhaps from the wisdoms of traveling and something like Hajj is that it's a mandatory pillar if you're able to do it. Even if you're not someone that would like to leave your town, if you have the means, you're forced to leave. You're forced to travel. You're forced to see people from all across the world, different languages, different cultures. You're forced to meet different people from all across the world. And that's actually from the deen. When you said that as you're there and you're going through the process of Hajj, the ayat come to life. You're actually now, this is actually part of your journey on the Qur'an into implementing these ayat. You're implementing the dua from the Qur'an.
I mean, exactly, like al-hajju ashhurun ma'lumat faman farada fihinna al-hajja fala rafatha wala fusuqa wala jidala fil hajj. Obviously, you cannot engage in intimate relationships, but you can't engage in sins and you can't engage in argumentation. Me, honestly, I thought for a long time that it's more of an etiquette. That people say, you're going Hajj, you're doing a spiritual journey, don't argue, don't be patient. I didn't think it was a command from Allah that you really shouldn't behave this way. Like you should try your utmost. And it's amazing. And I think Hajj allows you to really appreciate the beauty of Islam, the divinity of Islam, the timelessness of it, that you are performing a journey in its accuracy in the same way someone did it 1,000 years ago in the Middle Ages. And it hasn't changed at all. The only thing that's changed is the path. There's a bridge here, there's a different road there. But the ritual is there exactly the same. And you take such confidence. You never think ever when you go to Saudi Arabia, you go to any place in the world, that if I recite that, or someone might recite differently to me, someone might recite Surah Fatiha differently to me. I was so confident that I would find someone in the haram who could take my lesson if I needed them to. And I didn't worry that, would he know it the same way I learned it? Yet he grew up in an entirely different world, in a different remote area perhaps, different language, different customs, everything. Yet we have the exact same reading of the Qur'an. And only something divine could really do that. And it's absolutely amazing that everyone is doing the same thing. You didn't have to organize. It's amazing. I remember there was this famous story. A diplomat, I think, went to Saudi Arabia and they showed him the sacred sites. And he says, here, how difficult do you think it would be to organize everyone? Don't forget, there's people of all different kinds of ages, from 90 to like 10 years old kids, people of all different kinds of ethnicities, backgrounds, race, relations, men, women. How do you think you'll get it? And he sees it's all messy, He says, what do you think? And then it was almost Maghrib time. And he says, okay, give it about 5 minutes. And then the adhan went and he sees everyone. And the iqamah went. He sees everyone comes in order.
Rows.
No, you don't need commands. You don't need like a soldier. You don't need... Everyone knows what to do at the same time. Everyone's praying the same way. How can you do this? It's only something divine could really, truly do that. And the fact that I don't like it, but you can see how people appreciate it, that in the English language, people use it as a reference point. Like right now in the NBA, the New York Knicks are in the NBA finals. I don't know who follows. So they say their home arena is called the Madison Square Garden. They call it the Mecca of basketball. But we have the Mecca of Mecca, isn't it? Yeah, it's amazing. And that is where the reference comes from. That it brings the whole world together. It is the number one place. So for you to go there, it's all inspiring. Sure. And I think that's what makes you really proud to be a Muslim. And it shows also your capacity to be patient, to be thankful, to be God-fearing. You see actually what you are capable of. Yep. So I think it was truly a great experience. And I would say, on the point that you said, that I didn't even think of this. People think, okay, let's say Hajj is £8,000 per package. I now have £8,000, so I will just go. But wallah, it's amazing that the scholars have said you should go on a package that is close to what you are accustomed to in your daily life in terms of quality, standard, things like this. And the wisdom of that is, if you are not accustomed to the standard, you will become quite cranky. you'll probably be a bit more impatient, you'll be in a bad mood, and that will affect your worship. So if you go to a standard you're used to, the food you're used to, accustomed to, you'll be in a better mood, you pray a lot better, you'll have more concentration. So obviously you don't go too extremes, you don't go super luxury, and you also don't go something, just because I can afford it, I'll take it. You should kind of find a middle ground. And I have to say, the package I have, I experienced a bit of both. That there was a standard I wasn't completely entirely used to, and it tested my patience. But at the same time, I also appreciated when I did have a very good standard, it was very close to the haram, that what sort of mood it put me in, and what impact it had on my ibadah. So that is the advice I would give.
SubhanAllah, profound. And despite the day and age that we live in, of luxuries, of mashallah freezers full of ice cream sandwiches that are available to eat on site,
I saw those,
despite all those things, you will be tested. Despite the day and age that we live in now, where you are memorizing the Qur'an and you've got access to recordings of Muhammad Siddiq al-Minshawi, one that mashallah just came out last week from 1972, recorded. You've got access to Sheikh Muhammad Khalil Husari. You've got access to teachers from across the planet, Mauritania, Egypt. You've got information at your fingertips on everything. You will still be tested. Hajj, you could take a plane there. You don't have to go like the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and the companions that traveled from Medina to Mecca. It took them 9 days by camel just to get there to perform the Hajj, which is longer than the Hajj and more difficult perhaps than the Hajj itself. But we can fly there. Still on that journey, you will find difficulty. You'll find challenges. No matter how luxurious the package is. You just came, right? I know stories that people, they had a great package, mashallah. There were delays. They lost their suitcases. They got put in the wrong hotel, or they had they had roommates that they didn't agree with. So you will be tested. And I think entering a journey like that, whether it's a Hifdh journey, whether it's a Hajj journey, if you have that mentality that this is part of the journey, that Allah Azza wa Jalla is going to test me, I go in with the expectation to be tested, I think it puts you in much better stead.
Oh, definitely. And I think if you go on, let's say, a luxury package, I think there's a sense of entitlement. So when things go wrong, you're like, how can it go wrong? I paid for this. Do you see? So it depends on all your frame of mind, your approach. It would shock you. Some people, they just forget that they're a Haji. They forget they're in a holy area. People get into really strange arguments. I remember the first time I went, it was insane. First time I went in 2013, people might remember, Manchester United were just champions. But Sir Alex Ferguson retired. So everyone thought, oh, this is it. Manchester United will fall. And they have kept falling ever since. Yeah. But because people were so excited, so you had a lot of Liverpool fans, Manchester United fans, after Hajj getting into a huge argument over football. No, I guarantee you watch, so they're going to finish ahead of you. Watch.
Unbelievable.
I remember I was 19, but even I was embarrassed. A grown man arguing about these things. And then I saw similar things this time round. Do you see? So, and what you have to do, and it's a test for us as well, you cannot look down on people like this in the same way. You just have to wish for them the best. And maybe if you can, I was 19, I can't tell people what. Do you see? So you have to, in a gentle way, find a way how to advise people. Definitely. So you see. And you have to appreciate as well that Allah has perhaps given you that maturity not to fall into these sort of traps, into these sort of discussions. So the whole experience, I recommend it to everyone. And if you are fortunate, Allah has called you. And what's amazing as well now, people say Allah has called you. But because of this nusuk system that's not entirely reliable, and that there is a element of lottery around it. Like you get in, you might be logged out, things like this. You might get a packet. So when you do get it, it genuinely feels like, oh, Allah has really called me. And Allah's calling you is to do with also things in your life have to come together at the same time. Sometimes you might have all the money, but you can't get time off work. You have young children. You can't just leave them. Things like so. Everything needs to come together. It's not just about getting the package. It's about everything coming together at the right time of your life. That now Allah has invited me to come. Allahu Akbar. And I'm in the right frame of mind. I will appreciate. So, alhamdulillah, it's amazing. Yeah.
I think there's so many parallels to be drawn between that journey and the Hifdh journey. Even the Hifdh journey, subhanallah, and obviously we want to delve inshallah ta'ala into your journey with the Qur'an. I'm sure there were many reflections that you had during this experience, during this fulfilling this pillar of Islam, of Al-Hajj, where you saw ayat in different ways and you reflected on your journey, and that's Al-Hajj Arafah day is that day of dua, and you're really looking inside and calling out to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's from Allah Azza wa Jal that we've recorded this podcast and you've come back from that journey. I can imagine subhanAllah the insights and the feeling. When we recorded our podcast in Medina, Sheikh Bukhari, who was on the previous podcast, he said it feels different recording this podcast in Medina.
Yeah.
Knowing that the ayat that we're discussing were revealed here. You know, and now we're discussing the Hifdh journey, and you just come back from Hajj. If it was accepted, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept it from you and all the Hujjaj, like the day you were given birth to, clean, subhanAllah, clean slate. So I, inshallah ta'ala, hope this is a means of the deep insights and reflections coming from this conversation as well, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, which some of the mashayikh, they would get when someone enters Islam, from Christianity or atheism, whatever it may be, the shaykh usually dua for the brother who's entered Islam, but they would get him to make dua for everyone. How comes? Even if they make this dua for us, Allahumma, and you repeat Allahumma, because his slate is clean, so he's sinless.
It's true. Yeah.
That dua, if it's made now for, you know, inshallah ta'ala, there's no barrier to its acceptance. But your journey with the Qur'an is a conversation that I've wanted to have for a while, and I think just bringing it back to the reason this podcast exists today, after the tawfiq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is to make the journey relatable to people that feel like it's out of touch, that feel like it's not for them, that feel like they need to be in a certain part of the world for it to be a reality in their lives. Now, take us back to your journey. I have no idea what your journey is like, and this is what I love, because I'm finding out like the guests are, like the viewers are, inshallah. What were those initial moments with the Qur'an, and what was the beginning of that journey for yourself?
So we'll have to go back to 2003-4, around that time, just a young boy. I think I come from a Bengali family, grew up in Tower Hamlets. My father is quite elderly, so that's the dynamic. So I'll just set it up like that. Now, a lot of people, what they would have is they'll have school, of course, and then 5 to 7 they might go to the maktab in the local mosque, and they give their lesson. My mum and my parents, they didn't want us to go to the maktab, because my parents, always their priority was to keep us away from the riffraff of the community. Growing up, Tower Hamlets was quite a rough area. A lot of people engaged in gang violence, drugs, these sort of elements. It doesn't matter if you're Muslim, that was just the nature of the time. A lot of people did not do well in school, they dropped out of school. So my mom and my dad really wanted to isolate me as much as they could. So we were fortunate. A relative of ours, he was coming from Bangladesh, and he needed work. And he's a Hafidh as well. So he would teach us on the weekends, 10 to 12, I remember. And Saturday, Sunday, with the people in our building, the other Muslims, they would come to one house, we'd all read together. Inshallah. There was not a single aspiration amongst anyone to become a Hafidh or anything like that. All it was is, you're a Muslim, you need to learn how to pray, you need to learn how to recite the Qur'an, and maybe memorize a few surahs here and there so you can actually...
It's a cultural expectation.
That's all it is. It goes back to Bangladesh. Every Muslim society is like that. And I remember I learned very quickly, and I was able to recite the Qur'an fairly quickly. I was quite proud. I was able to do a lot of khatams by looking. And then I remember my teacher, he's my relative, and he said, you should memorize Surah Mulk, because it's a surah that will protect you in the grave. And I said, okay. And I saw it's about 3 pages. That would be okay. And it took me a long time to memorize, like 6 months. At that age, 8, 9. But eventually I finished it. And then I said, what do I do now? And then he says, you should memorize Surah Yasin then. So I tried to memorize Surah Yasin. I learned a bit. I couldn't. I kept forgetting it. I couldn't. I found it difficult. I found it such a chore.
Are you memorizing like yourself?
By myself, just trying to I read the first line, and then without looking, I try to go to the next line, and then I couldn't piece it together.
Yeah.
And I was able to do Surah Mulk, but Surah Yasin I found it very difficult. And that's all that happened. But my parents' aspirations, my dad's aspiration was, it would be so nice if he could become a Hafidh, memorize the Qur'an. But at that time, early 2000s, the only way you could get your son to become a Hafidh was you send him to Darul Uloom, Dewsbury.
A boarding school.
Boarding school, Blackburn. My parents did not want to do that. Refused. Yeah, I'm not sending my son away. They would miss us, but at the same time, someone else is going to raise you, isn't it?
Definitely.
So they don't want that. They didn't want that. So, but what do you do? And my parents don't also want to send me to the maktabs, because it's like 40 people in a class with one teacher. No one gets any attention. You make friends with the wrong crowd. No one's really serious. You've heard all these stories over the years. What happens in maktabs? They hit you. It's terrible. It's improved a lot since then, but we're talking about 25 years ago. So so what do you do? And I remember my mom, she would make lots of dua sincerely, or like give some path.
Subhanallah.
You look up to the sky, remember.
Mother's dua.
Mother's dua. And my dad was very close with the Islamic mosque. He was someone who would attend there regularly. Like most people in Islam has some relationship with the Islamic mosque. And my dad was close with the committee, was close with Sheikh Al-Qayyum. So he had a relationship. But he had no idea in that institution there is a Hifdh school.
The East London Mosque, which is the largest mosque in the UK for context. But back then, I'm sure it wasn't.
It was still very big. It was still the biggest. It's an institution. You know, people say, oh, it's an institution. It's an institution.
Yes.
Everyone has some sort of affinity with that mosque. And so my dad had no idea. So he just accepted, you know what, Abubakr, I'll send him to boarding school to Dewsbury when he's in secondary school, because they was only starting in secondary school. They didn't do primary school.
So your father wanted to send you?
Yeah, he said he's going to become a Hafidh, I'll send him. And I sort of accepted that. And in that time, what my dad did was he would take him to Islamic mosque for Taraweeh.
Okay.
And he would say, look at the honor that they receive. I was only 7, 8 years old, 9 years old. He would say, look at, do you see? And then he would say, one day, inshallah, you would lead there. And I thought it was, there's an aura with him. Everyone going towards them. And I thought it's amazing. And then people might remember Shaykh Ahmed Amir, rahimahullah, he's passed away. But after he would recite in the Egyptian style qiraat, and I would just sit there and listen. I thought, wow, that's amazing. At that age, I just found it amazing, just the attention they would get. So that's what my dad did. He made the Qur'an, and he made being a Hafidh, made leading Salah, whether he did it intentionally, but he made that something that is worth aspiring to. He put a lot of value into that. So
from bringing you to the masjid.
Always. He used to bring me to the masjid for dhuhr. I remember afterwards he would take us to the kebab shop. Me and sometimes my brother would come with me. And so we'd look forward to it. So what he fit. So if you say I'm taking you to the masjid today, I'd then we're gonna get kebab afterwards.
Kebab, I screw you, man.
Isn't it? But I also enjoyed it. I used to see everyone in unison go to sujood. I didn't pray with them. I didn't know how to pray at that age. So all of these things came together.
MashaAllah.
But I really wanted to, and then I sort of had this conviction that I do want to become, and I saw how much it meant to my mom, my dad. And my mom, my dad, struggled a lot, sacrificed a lot. So I just wanted to give them something they can be proud of. But subhanAllah, we didn't know about there was a Hifdh school in there, and I'm sure other guests have come who are graduates of Al-Mizan Primary School.
Yes.
So Al-Mizan Primary School was there, and we had no idea that people attend that school. I think what can happen sometimes, people can gatekeep things, and that's really unfortunate, but that is the nature of our society today. People don't want to share. So, people want that glory for themselves. My son will go to the Hifdh school and he'll become a Hafidh, and then do you see? So unfortunately that was the nature of it. But how long can you keep something like that a secret? You can't.
Or they have a fear of the purity of it getting corrupted, which is like when you find something small and personal, exposing it.
There's that as well, but I think when it comes to a school, an institution, that's something that you can't keep it. You have to do your duty into sharing it, and then you protect the purity as much as you can. You don't stop one good to make another good. So that's how you should do it. So alhamdulillah, eventually what happened is my dad, because he was a donor of the mosque, he donated a lot of and that's just the nature of the world, isn't it? You can then call favors. So what happened is my dad said to, how comes my son doesn't, I donated so much, how come my son doesn't get an opportunity to go to this school? And so eventually what happened is they said, inshallah, we will give your son an interview to come to this school.
How did he find out about the school? He just
eventually, I think some people say, well, why can't you, send it to Al-Mizan? They said, yeah. So what happened is then eventually they gave me an interview. And I remember it was, in East London there's that bridge in the you might not remember, there's a bridge where you can go up. So it was in that room.
Oh, and you can see into the
you can see. So it was around there was an office there. So I sat there, and I remember I was tested on Surah Duha. I didn't know what Duha. I knew Surah Mulk, but I didn't know what Duha. They were testing me on Duha, I don't know what Duha.
So you knew no surah apart from Surah Al-Mulk, Fatiha maybe.
Surah Fatiha and the last 10 surah, Surah Fil to Surah Nas. I didn't know what Duha, and I didn't realize at the time that the way I recited, it wasn't with proper makhraj, it wasn't with proper enunciation, and I would discover this later. So my recitation was really that good, and I didn't know a lot of the surahs. So I just had a bad feeling about it. But I'm a 10-year-old boy, like, what are you expecting for someone at that age? And then I remember someone else then interviewed me, and it looked like they weren't going to give me a place. I thought it was very harsh. I said, I know Surah Mulk, I know pretty much all of Surah Yasin. I'm very committed. I want to memorize. I can do it. it's not about ability at their age. At their age, it's about motivation, passion. Can you push? If you come across that in a child, it's so rare. You have to nurture that as much as you can.
Definitely.
So I had it, but unfortunately they didn't take the opportunity. And then they said, "Yeah, sorry, we can't give you a place here."
Wow.
And I remember when they were giving me that news, that they said, "Oh, don't worry, you can memorize on your own." And I remember the teacher, he said, "Ya bani," you know, in Surah Baqarah, "Ya bani Israel اذكروا نعمتي التي أنعمت عليكم وأني فضلتكم على العالمين." There's two of them, isn't it?
وأوفوا بعهدي.
Yeah, and then so
وأني فضلتكم.
exactly, yeah. So he showed me those verses. He said, "See, if you memorize this one, that means you memorize that one." And there's a lot of verses like that, so you would have shortened the Quran in a way. So don't worry, you can do it on your own. And
you use the mutashabihat as an example.
Exactly. So I was just, so I was a bit gutted, and then I said, oh well, I guess I'll have to go to Dewsbury or something like this to memorize. Subhanallah, it's amazing.
For context, Dewsbury is how far from where we are now? From
It's
London?
It's Bradford.
Yes.
So that's what, a 4.5 hour drive?
4.5 hour, 5 hour drive up north in the UK, and you're going to stay there away from your family.
Yes, and it's like a 7-8 year program.
And when do you get to see your family? On the weekends?
Maybe on the summer holidays you'll come back. Not on the weekends. You'll
Wow.
come back maybe Christmas and summer holidays, and maybe Eid, maybe one. So yeah, so you do all your growing up over there, and so that's why I accepted that. Then subhanallah, my mum was really gutted. My dad was angry actually. He said it's not fair, you know. And subhanallah, what happened is there was a student in the school. He wasn't meant to be in the school. He had outgrown the school. He was a year 8 kid in a primary school. He shouldn't be there.
Yes.
And then his parents said, okay, you have to leave. And then
Slot became available.
so a slot became available. Now, as you know, Islamic schools are very underfunded. When a student leaves, finances go low. They need to fill that immediately. So they quickly called up my dad and said, can he enroll
Subhanallah.
immediately after the Christmas holidays? He said, of course. And then alhamdulillah, I got a place by Allah's taqdeer. And I got in, and I came to find, I think people just felt that he got there fortuitously. It's not on his merit. He got there. He got there because his dad kind of knows the school. Things like
Wow.
I didn't like this. Like there was some form of nepotism.
People
Also,
look
I had
into that deeply.
I had some relatives who were part of the Islam Mosque institution running it. Things
Got
like
it.
this.
they
So
know.
people put 2 and 2 together. Is odd. So that's how he got at the place.
Wow.
So and then what happened is I wasn't very good. My qiraat wasn't proper. So, you know, this is Bangladeshi style of reciting, you know, dhal is za, you know, ra is not proper ra, it's a ra. It's like qaf is qaf, you know, it's proper heavy. It's not the proper way of reciting. So that's how I recited. I mean, that's the way I was taught. What can I do?
Of course.
So,
And that's the way most people were taught, right? Back then.
I don't judge anyone for that, but the fact is that is not
Yes.
the proper way of
Yeah.
reciting.
Yeah.
So, and then I found it difficult to memorize. And I remember what happened is the class was organized in a square.
Sure.
So from the teacher's left all the way to the teacher's right, the positions were organized of the students by amount memorized. So it would start on his left and go this way. Yeah. I knew so little that I couldn't even fit into the class.
Wow.
So I had to sit immediately next to the teacher's left.
Outcast.
So that's how it was. So I felt quite lonely, and I didn't like it. So and you know, at that age, you're 10 years old.
And all the kids around you are the same age, right?
Same age, some a bit older. So that's just, it wasn't a very friendly environment. And remember, friendships were all established. I'd come in the middle of the year.
You're interrupting something.
Yeah, so that's how it was. And then I remember what happened is from Saudi Arabia, it was sent a new mushafs. Mushaf from Medina. And it was the 15-line Urdu print, South African print, but the 15-line one.
Okay.
Not the Osmani one. And what happened is, to get your new copy, what you had to do is you had to give all you've memorized without any mistakes, because the old copy you will discard and all the mistakes that you had that were circled in pencil will be gone.
Wow, okay.
So some people had like 10 juz, 12 juz, 13 juz. That's a lot to cover, isn't it? So it took them a while to get their certificate to get the new mushaf. Whereas I had just come, and I remember I memorized only up to Surah Inshiqaq. So I had barely any to rectify, isn't it? So I was the first person to get a mushaf.
Oh, wow.
And I was very proud. I was very happy. So it's an achievement. But everyone's like, oh, you only got it because you only had barely anything. So people downplayed your achievements and things. So I was just very determined. I said, I'm not. So as a kid even, I was very competitive. And I did not like that I was just sat right there. So I was very determined that I'm going to take every person up one by one.
Allahu Akbar.
Yeah. So I just saw it like that, and I realized like everyone on this side knew about like 3-4 juz.
Yeah.
So I could pass everyone in one go if I try my best.
MashaAllah.
So I was just very determined. And slowly but surely, I found a rhythm.
Yeah.
How to memorize. So I'd memorize like this. Let's say verse A.
Yeah.
So I'd memorize verse A, then I'd verse B, and then I'd do A B A B A B A B. Now I know A B. Then I go A B, and then I learn C. A B C A B C A B C A B C. Now I kind of know it. Then I go to D. So D D D. I keep revising, and then A B C D. And then that's how you do it. But it's 15 lines, isn't it?
Yes.
So I'd learn halfway, then I'd stop. So it's, let's say from A to E. Yeah? Then the next half, I'd then do from A to E again.
Got it.
And then at the end, I'd merge the whole page. And then that would take me about an hour.
Wow.
So I'd revise for about 2 hours, so I could learn about 2 pages.
So you'd sit there applying this method for 2 hours.
Now,
On
I
one
figured
page.
it out on my own. I thought this works for me, so I'll
Nice.
just do it. No one taught me how to do it, so I was just doing it on my own. And that system worked for me, and I picked it up. And what I realized, actually, children pick up things instinctively. Yeah, it's through repetition. They don't need to be taught this is how you do it. They just do
Yes.
it. So what happened, my teacher, he just kept correcting my makharij, my enunciation. It's not ra, it's a ra. So slowly, within a couple of months, I got used to it, so I could read properly now.
Nice.
And so that's what happened. So now that wasn't a problem. So I was memorizing, and then I kind of became addicted to it. I just wanted to memorize.
Did it feel good overtaking?
Yeah, I remember I would just quickly, when I'd get home, I'd eat rice, curry, and I'd just focus on the time. I got 30 minutes. I can memorize a few pages, a few lines in this time. That's how I was. I was like obsessed. Any time I had, I thought, okay, in that time I can memorize half a page. In that time I can memorize. So that's how I was. I was just obsessed. Wow. And it was, and you might not hear this from any other guest, but it was very like ego driven. I wanted to be everyone in that class. Yeah, and at the core of it, and then that's how I was. And I remember, and one by one, I started surpassing everyone very quickly. And I remember took satisfaction in it. People don't like that. That's just the truth. But I took satisfaction in it. I took pride in it, and I kind of reminded everyone that that I'm after you. I'm after you. I'm gonna come for you. Yeah, don't get comfortable where you're sitting. I'm gonna come for it. So that's kind of the attitude I had, and it just became like it's just about memorizing. And I would say, looking back now, I'll say at the core of it, the ethos that I had were two. Growing up, I remember my dad tried to inspire me by saying, on the Day of Judgment, the parents, there's this famous hadith, whose children who memorize the Qur'an, live by the Qur'an, and die upon the Qur'an, they'll be given crowns of light on the Day of Judgment. And my dad and my mom would tell me this story, and I wanted to give that to them. And I remember in Al-Mizan, they had this poster. It was actually quite nice. It said, وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِذِكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِرٍ. Indeed, we have made the Qur'an easy to remember, so which of you will remember? I said, if the Qur'an is saying this, surely it has to be easy. And I was finding it very easy to memorize. So I thought, this must be true. So those were the two motivating factors
SubhanAllah.
that I had, like the core good things. So I really want to make my parents proud. I used to imagine, like on the Day of Judgment, they're like on thrones. They're giving crowns of light. I used to imagine things as a child. So I would give that to them. But of course, that got all buried under this now desire just to basically win, just to get ahead, memorize. And mashallah, I would say alhamdulillah, I just progressed. I remember there were Quran competitions. And I would win the Quran competitions. And what happens is you then become quite confident in yourself, and that can then manifest in not a pleasant way. And I remember I left school. I was top student. I also did well in national curriculum. So do you say everything came together?
MashaAllah, tabarakallah.
So
you weren't just excelling in your Quran. Your competitiveness was across. That was like you as a person, right? You even your GCSEs, your exams, your subjects.
So just pushing. That's what I wanted to do. And
so
it was
if you were so dedicated to Hifdh, 30 minutes to do a page, or how did you also have time for your subjects to excel in that?
No, but I think it was that confidence that you had. So because I was doing so well in my Hifdh, I had the confidence when it came to English, maths, just to focus and also do well in that. And so it was good. But what I would say, and this is perhaps people may encouraged me not to admit this, but I remember there were 2 charts in Al-Mizan, and everyone's names was across, and it was a grid chart. And for every 5 pages you learn, half a box would be shaded. So obviously if you learn 10, so what's the whole purpose is the higher the tower, the more successful you are.
So
as a
5
student.
would be, yeah.
Yeah, so that's how it was. And I remember by the end of when I was in year 6, end of primary school, the tower, my name was the highest. They didn't have any space on the chart now to fill how much I've memorized. It was right to the top.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there was also a good behavior chart. And that was, the lower it is, the more well behaved you are. And obviously the higher it is, the more in trouble you've been. My name was also high on that one. Wow. So people couldn't understand why someone so good in Qur'an was also kind of mischievous, or, so that was kind of the challenge that I had, that people couldn't understand, like, how has Allah blessed someone with this ability to really grapple with the Qur'an very well, but at the same time, perhaps it's not that likable. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
And that, I would say, was the journey in my teenage, from being a child, and then through my teenage years, discover the value of the Qur'an, the message of the Qur'an, the wisdom of the Qur'an. So in tandem, I'm correcting my character, so then it comes in sync. Because I realized it's not just about memorizing Qur'an, it's about upholding the Qur'an in your character, in your speech. And I think I just covered the first and the easy bit, I would say, memorizing the Qur'an. And it's a phenomenal achievement, I would say, in the speed. I became a Hafidh at the age of 12. I did it in about 2 years. And so I finished it. So I was 12 years old. I'll share a funny story, actually. When I finished in 2007, July, I remember on Thursday was my ceremony, graduation. And on a Friday, Harry Potter, the final Harry Potter book was coming out. And I'm someone who read those books. And I remember I got a lot.
So you're a big reader, yeah? Or was it just that series?
No. That series I loved, but I would read a lot of books as well, because back then you didn't have like phones.
Devices,
yeah. So you just had to read, and then TV was at a set time. If you didn't watch it,
correct,
you
yeah,
see.
set program, yeah.
So you couldn't. So I read. I remember in Al-Mizan they'd have a lot of fiction books, so I'd read it. A series of unfortunate events. These sort of books, Malcolm Pogo books. I'd read all of them. So I remember the final Harry Potter book was coming out, but I did my ceremony on Thursday. It's a work day, isn't it? So a lot of people couldn't attend. So people on the weekend would come to see, oh, mashallah, Abubakr, you become Hafiz, and then give a gift maybe. But they come on the weekend and they see me reading the Harry Potter book. And I'm like, mashallah, when you recite, I say, okay, alhamdulillah, so I read quickly a short surah and then go back to reading the book, like this obsessiveness. So people couldn't understand, like, so I think at that age, what it is you just see it as a discipline, as a science. It's very rare, extremely, to find a child like that who really genuinely appreciates that the Quran is a miracle, Quran is divine. Sure. It has genuine quality, nourishment. But I didn't see it like that. I just saw it as a discipline that you have to excel, you have to do well, you have to win. And but alhamdulillah, I finished. And I remember every time I would, after every salah, boys, they don't put much khushu in their du'as quickly. But I remember every du'a, I would just make du'a for my parents. I'd say to Allah, please give me the tawfiq to finish my hifz quickly. I would just say it very quickly. It became such a habit. Every salah, I would just immediately after, I would make that du'a. And I could see it manifest. So when people say tie your camel, so I was tying my camel. I was almost strangling my camel. Yeah, but at the same time I was making du'a, and my mom was making du'a. And what was amazing, I would say, is I truly knew the value. Like, that was the first time he entered into it. Until then, I kind of forgot the pure reasons why I did it. For me, up until 2007, it was just, I want to finish before everyone else. And alhamdulillah, I did it. And then I remember on the day of my graduation, my mom called me and she said, everyone's going to give you maybe some money today as a gift. So let me give you your first gift. I gave it. And mashallah, my mom, unfortunately, qadarullah, she died very young. She didn't really see her father,
subhanallah,
my grandfather. And I remember she said something amazing. She says, I had a dream last night. I said, I was calling your grandfather to tell him his son, so me, grandson, had become a Hafidh. And she saw like a lot of nur and light. Allah. So I said, oh, wow. Like, that's something absolutely amazing. So I said, that day, I'll go. I was very proud, and it worked out quite nicely. And it was just so from then, what I would say, the Quran was an anchor in my life for me to then really check. I remember when I would get in trouble in school, in secondary school, Abubakr, you're Hafidh, how can you behave like this? Do you see? It was extra. And then people also, even at that age, people would give you that extra respect as well.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
even subconsciously. You would know, I'm sure if people have discussed it, you know, it's a weak hadith, but people still quote it, that the person who becomes a Hafidh, he'll be able to save 10 people from the hellfire. Now, it's a weak hadith, but people do still quote it, hoping it's true. Now, obviously, at that age, when you're in secondary school, people don't check.
Of course, yeah.
They snap what's strong, what's weak. We just heard it, isn't it? And I remember the boys would be, when they'd upset me, don't say that to Abu Bakr. He's going to cut you out. He's 10-man list. Don't say that, yeah?
Wow, really?
Yeah, people make jokes like that, yeah?
Wow.
And then I remember a boy, he used to bring 2 burgers, and he'd always give one burger away, and he'd have the other one. He'd give it to me, he goes, oh, but I'm in your 10, yeah?
Wow.
I'm in your 10. I was like, yeah.
If you insist, yeah. I'll take
Yeah, but people would give that respect.
Bring me some chips next time, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Some wings as well. So that's
Wow.
that people have.
That was still there, and there was some.
Genuine. It's because I went to Islamic secondary school as well. So after I was in Islamic secondary school, and I remember even some of the boys would do things that you shouldn't do at that age, but they would never do it in front of me. Yeah, there were a couple of boys in my class. They would smoke, but they never smoked in front of me. I remember I found out a few years later, he smoked. They said, "Yeah, did you?" I said, "They never ever did it in front of me, or even suggested it."
Yeah.
So it was more out of that respect.
Subhanallah.
Yeah. So.
And that shows as well. That shows that subhanallah, when you plant that seed, from a young age in your household, that understanding, even if someone goes off track at a certain part of their phase in their life, you don't know if that seed has blossomed. Even if it's a small plant right now, it still affects some moments in their life, even if it doesn't stop them from doing something, right? But still, they might be in a situation in their life, for example, and they might, just the fact that he knows, looking at you reminds him that what I'm doing, this action, is something that's not correct. And perhaps that's also one of the wisdoms of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam when he said, "Ballighu anni walau ayah," narrate for me something, even if it's a verse. You don't know, it might not be apparent straight away, but down the line, or certain moments in their life, it can enter, and it can hold a person, can keep them away from that.
It's amazing what my parents. So why do parents send their children to, like, say, Eton or Harrow, these top schools? Because you are surrounded by like-minded kids, because they come from, like, families of doctors or bankers, and they were perhaps grow up to want to run the country, run big corporations. So you will be surrounded by that
mindset,
that environment, and that will push you to that. So for our parents who send us to Islamic school, frankly, Islamic schools, when it comes from a national curriculum perspective, very poor. Teachers, there's a revolving door of teachers. There's no stability. A lot of resources underfunded. Some teachers aren't even qualified, but they just make do. But why do the parents still send their kids there? Because you are surrounded by boys who come from Islamic families, who will tell you, maybe you shouldn't listen to that. Hey, don't speak that way. Someone would say it. At the very least, they feel uncomfortable.
Yes.
Even if they don't say anything.
Yeah.
Do you see?
Yeah.
So I was surrounded by that environment. So sometimes I remember I'd want to, like, play extra football or, just relax, but I couldn't all the time because I had to do my hifdh, I had to retain my hifdh, go to Islamic classes. And sometimes I'd feel like it was a burden almost. I'd get in double trouble but I remember the boys would, no, it's a double reward. You get this honor. I remember even, I remember around there in Islamic Mosque, at Tahajjud, they would do Tahajjud for the young kids to lead. And there would be a main Tahajjud led by the proper imams. So alhamdulillah, I was allowed to lead in Islamic Mosque, and that was a very proud moment for me. Remember, my dad said that one day you will lead there.
Yeah.
So that came true. So I led, and I remember a lot of my friends who I didn't keep in touch with, but they came to that Tahajjud. And they came right to the front to give me a hug and say, mashallah, all of this. You would never think that they would take pride in that, but that is what they did.
Subhanallah.
So it was amazing. So for me,
what was it like leading? Like when you went up there? How old were you when you?
When I did the Tahajjud, I led. I had a high pitched voice. I remember my voice didn't break until I was in year 9. So and I remember another boy. So small things. There was another boy in our class who became a Hafidh in secondary school, but his voice broke very early. So when he recites, it's very nice, and when it's just high pitch, you sound like every other child. And I remember a lot of the boys would prefer he recites. Abubakr, you don't recite. So that would hurt a bit. And I remember the teacher saw that, and then he said, "Oh, but don't worry. After your voice breaks, you'll be okay." Alhamdulillah, that is what happened. Then, so when I led Salah, it was very high pitched, but I think I read very confidently, so it showed. So I took a lot of confidence in that. So I was in year 7, year 8, Do
you remember 12, what you recited?
13. I remember the first ever time I read the last passage of Surah Baqarah. It was very almost cliched, isn't it? Cliched. I think a couple of other times I read something from Surah Al Imran. So these are the first surahs I memorized. So I was very confident. Yeah. I'd advise anyone, if you're ever told to recite, and it's a very important, like Salah, I don't know if you're going for marriage talks or something, you have to lead Salah, or you're in a congregation, always read something that you're confident. Because when you're nervous, you make mistakes. Even if you gave your lesson to someone and you didn't make any mistakes, if you're not confident about that surah, you will make mistakes. 100%. So for me, Surah Baqarah, I memorized them a long time ago. I revised them so many times. I could read them on autopilot. So I would choose the surahs that were easy for me. And I was confident I wouldn't make mistakes. But all the surahs that everyone likes, Surah Qamar, Surah Rahman, Surah Waqi'ah, these were the last surahs I memorized. So I wasn't confident about that. So when people, the people do surah requests, I couldn't. Yeah. I couldn't do it. So I remember I led for 3 years, like tahajjud, and then I think tahajjud time changed and they couldn't do it. So that was it. I remember.
So you were doing it as in East London Masjid?
In the Masjid. One year I was invited to lead the Taraweeh in East London Mosque, just as a guest. So that was good. But I don't really have a great. I remember I read Surah Hajj on the Surah Hajj. I remember I recited Surah Hajj, and he's the Mutashabihat verses. They really confused me. I made mistakes. Yeah. I came home. My mom wasn't happy. So I don't even look back at that fondly. But that dream came true.
That builds you. That builds you as well, right?
Most definitely. And you learn things even in Salah. I remember there's a funny thing. So I would just recite, and then when I would finish my recitation, I would just go Allahu Akbar, just normally. Yeah. And then when you go to sujood, I would say Allahu Akbar. But I realized not everyone is paying attention. Most people aren't paying attention. So I went to sujood, but the whole masjid doesn't know. In East London Mosque, thousands of people, and I'm in sujood, but no one knows because they didn't hear me. So after the Salah, people said, no.
It was because of the microphone, right?
No. It's because I just said, so I finished reciting.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And then I just went to sujood, like, Allahu Akbar, and just went.
Yeah.
Like a normal recitation.
You were demonstrating what you did with the mic there. You just knocked it over.
Oh, no. So I went to sujood. Yeah. So what happened after, someone gave me good advice. They said, when you stop, you finish your qiraat, you do a small pause.
Yeah.
Then you say, Allahu Akbar. And you do it loudly, Sami Allahu liman hamid. And when you go to sujood, you make the takbir long. Allahu Akbar. So everyone knows, okay, you're going to sujood.
Like almost lowering his voice.
So if you can't say Allahu Akbar, someone goes.
Yeah.
So that was good advice that was given to me. And obviously then when I would come to lead Taraweeh, that became very valuable advice. And so it was just great, I would say, experience. I would say to anyone listening, I would say when it comes to Hifdh, make Hifdh, Qur'an, leading Salah, make it as very, for lack of a better word, cool as possible. For a child, all that matters is what's shiny, cool, fun. That's all a child cares about. Yeah. I saw that and I loved it. And when, even if a child is like overconfident, even cocky, you nurture that the right way. And don't, you can appeal to someone's ego even. Say, no, you should be better than this. You're much better than this. If you just tell a child off, that's not the way.
100%.
And I realized this when I'm older. Obviously, when I was a teenager, you can be cranky, moody, be, however you can be. So it's the right way to nurture that child, and then you can get the most out of it. So when you see a child is like quite confident, even if he has an overconfidence, he has a confidence.
Definitely, yes.
You have to nurture that. Rein it in a nice way.
Yeah, don't destroy it. So, bring it down to the ground.
So I had some teachers who really nurtured that, and some teachers who kind of just aggravated it more. It wasn't very helpful. And I have to say, I have to give credit. I would say anyone who's doing Hifdh. So parents, I would say try to inspire your children as much as you can. One thing that really helped is I always saw my parents reciting Qur'an regularly at home. So it's not something they can just impose on you. And then, do you see? So my mom...
Yeah, definitely. They walk the walk.
My mom would compete with me, even after I was Hafidh with khatams.
Wow.
Yeah, so you say, I have not even memorized it, I'm ahead of you. Things like this. So that was really good. And
maybe that's why you got your competitive nature from, mashallah.
I don't know.
Allahumma barik.
And so all of these things pushing, so I would say really hone that in for your child, nurture that.
But that's the example that was given from the Sahaba, طبعا. Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu, when he said, لاعبوهم 7, play with them for 7 years, then teach them for 7, then befriend them for 7 years. But that playful element, like you said, shiny object, make it cool, make it an experience, make it a game, make it an outing, right?
So what I saw, and people don't ever talk about this, the dark side of Hifdh, what it does to a child.
A lot of boys don't enjoy it, don't enjoy the process. And what happens is they just become very bitter towards the Qur'an. As hard as that is to hear.
Definitely, yeah.
And that affects the relationship with the deen, and then they go astray and you're in big trouble. I saw loads of boys go that way. And it's very sad because parents just force them, just memorize it, whatever, but you're damaging his relationship with the Qur'an.
Mm-hmm.
I remember they made the uniform in my secondary school, a thobe. And there was some governors were really angry because the thobe has someone's identity with Islam, isn't it? I don't want to get into people say it's Arab, forget that. That is the garb that's associated with Muslims.
Of course, yeah.
And I take pride in it. And but people didn't want to associate the uniform, school uniform. Every morning you have to put it on. Do you see? When do we wear a thobe? On Eid day.
They don't want people to become desensitized to it, to the significance of it.
Not even significant, the association people have. The association with the thobe or Islamic clothing, it's to do with Islam, it's to do with the Eid, it's to do with Ramadan, it's to do with like
special
settings.
occasions, big occasions.
But if you then make it school,
daily thing,
people just have a negative relationship with it, and that became me. I did not enjoy. After I finished secondary school, I did not like wearing the thobe. It just reminds me of school.
Wow, really?
Yeah, like do you see? I had a good school experience, but even still, school is school, so I didn't want that.
You don't want to put the blazer on. Yeah, you don't want to put a blazer on when you're going out. Yeah.
Exactly. So I would say to parents, make sure the relationship with the Quran is healthy. If you see your child is not responding well, you have to find that fine balance, isn't it? Between pushing, but not pushing too hard. You do have to push a child. It's very rare you'll get a child who can just be driven on his own. It's rare.
No, definitely.
A lot of kids, they have the spark, but you have to...
And there are methods and techniques to the pushing. There are ways of making it look like a game, like we just described, right?
Yeah.
And
something fine balance between the carrot and the stick. Do you see? So that's how it is. But I saw a lot of parents. The boys would just go astray, and it wasn't very. So many boys, they memorized like 20 juz, then they would forget all of it. 15 juz. It was just really bad. Now you look today, they don't remember anything of it, nothing. So it's really. So to find that fine. Alhamdulillah, I was blessed. My parents didn't really have to push me. I did it all on my own. I was just motivated, but. A lot of other people, parents have to really find a fine balance, I think, in these days. And alhamdulillah, what's happened today, I found amazing. In that era, no one thought of making their girls hafidha. No one. It was very rare, extremely rare. But now, mashallah, there's a real encouragement to really push them to memorize Qur'an, to become hafidha. I have a few people in my family who's, mashallah, sisters, they memorize Qur'an, finished it. And there's more opportunities now. Back then, you didn't have Zoom online, so you could have a sheikh from Egypt do it on Zoom. And so there's loads of opportunities. Yeah. So I would say with parents, push your boys, push your girls as well. And whoever gets there, isn't it? That's your...
And nowadays, if we want to speak about nowadays, it's truly amazing. Even the way that Huffadh are now viewed is different. It's before, like you said, okay, amongst certain people, there would have been maybe some sort of like, okay, I'm going to do this in front of him. Some sort of respect. But that respect was drawn from a cultural kind of understanding what the Qur'an is. Yeah. Which means that a Hafiz or the Qur'an is out of touch with society. It's the holy man and the businessman are separate. They're in two separate worlds. So when he's around, we're going to be a certain way. When he's gone, we're going to be normal again. Because he's the weird person that's come in. So we got to be holy around him, which means sad around him. And when he's gone, we can return back to our normal life. Now it's changed. Now, alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, we've seen now people actually, I'm saying shabab, youth, like you said, brothers and sisters, say, you know what, that is what I want to be. I want to be a hafidh and hafidh. Like people, everyone now wants to become someone that's attached to the Qur'an because they've seen what it does to people. They've seen the way Allah Azza wa Jal elevates them. They've seen, alhamdulillah. And now it's stemming from not a cultural understanding, but like an understanding of the fact that, and alhamdulillah, that's kind of what we hopefully seek to also gain from this conversation, which is someone's success in their dunya is only because they spent time with the Qur'an and they achieved true success in the dunya. They were able to be people that they enjoyed life. They enjoyed life the most. They had the most fulfilling life, the most fulfilling careers, the most fulfilling family relationships. And they say it's because of the Qur'an.
Yeah, definitely.
They don't have to force it because the guy's clearly, mashallah, tabarakallah, very eloquent, very sociable, very successful.
It's good role models. I think growing up for my generation, anyone who memorized the Qur'an, you kind of associated him as just, we used to say mesab.
Yes.
Just like, Pir Sab, just like this. But now, mashallah, you see, what I really want to encourage is a lot of the Sahaba, most of them were not scholars, most of them were not Huffadh, but a lot of them still achieved great things. But they all had a good relationship with the Qur'an, all of them, even if they didn't memorize a lot. I remember Khalid bin Walid in the narration, he said, I just know a bit, but I keep close to it because he was too busy fighting the battles, isn't it? But he kept close to the Qur'an that he literally knew. And so I try to encourage people to really look into the stories of the companions because there's so many different ways you can actually find success. But one thing I would say, one hadith, and I don't want to jump the gun, one hadith that stayed with me even when I was younger. I remember there was hadith Qudsi, the Prophet ﷺ said, on the Day of Judgment there will come three people who did well. Someone who was a martyr, someone who was a very learned man, and someone who was very generous. And they did great things. But on the Day of Judgment, they will be dragged on their faces. Yes. Why? Because they didn't do it for the sake of Allah. They did it for glory. They did it for fame.
To be said, yeah.
And the one that, and the version that I was taught is the qari, the reciter. So I'd always be conscious, when you recite well, people would praise you, people tell you to lead salah, people give you this extra respect. It can genuinely get to your heart. It can get to your head. And especially these days when there's a lot of opportunities for fame, you become quickly famous, you can share your recitation everywhere, isn't it? It's very easy.
It's very easy.
And you have to really nurture people to know that riyah could enter your heart, and you have to keep it very humble. And the best advice I got, genuinely, is amazing, when I was in college actually, he said, when someone praises you too much, says good things about you, just remember that, there's a side of you that he doesn't know. And if he knew that, how would he see you? And everyone has this, but it keeps you grounded all the time.
Yes.
And I remember there was this image of where a man, he's on an iceberg, but the iceberg is in the sea, isn't it? So he says all his good deeds you can't see, but it's under the water, isn't it? And all you see there is just a few sins that he's just sat on, but he has all these good deeds, so he keeps it hidden, but that's all you see. So that hadith stays with me. It's a very morbid reminder, but it's very important. So even of obviously when I won these competitions, when I even went to the Musabaqa in Saudi Arabia in year 11 to represent the UK.
MashaAllah. Malik Fahd?
King Abdulaziz competition.
Abdulaziz.
And so you realize actually where you are. You might have been a big fish in a small pool, but when you go there, you really see the level that there exists in the Qur'an. I remember when I filled in the form, it said, what riwayah do you recite? And there was 10 boxes. I didn't know what to take. I didn't even know that I was reciting hafs. I didn't know that.
SubhanAllah. So this was after you become a hafidh.
After I became hafidh. No one teaches you these things. Ulum al-Quran. No one teaches you these things. So, so alhamdulillah, I ticked it. And then when you go over there, you realize the level that there exists and different people that have come from all over the world. I'll just share one story from that Musabaqa that I went. And I went when it was back then in Muharram, they wouldn't give any visas for Umrah. So I went there, it was so quiet. And that was my first time to Saudi Arabia. I couldn't believe that the masjid gets full. I couldn't believe it. It's so big, I couldn't believe that it gets full. I remember I would queue to kiss the black stone. Like, how you queue for an ATM machine? That's how I was queuing for the black stone. It was that empty, I couldn't believe it. And I remember this is when I knew being a hafidh or being someone trying to have a relationship with the Qur'an is something important. I remember I was in the hotel lobby and I was making tea, and one person came and he was starting reciting Surah Taha. And then another guy comes to make tea, and then he carries on, but he's reading with him. Then a third guy comes, fourth guy comes. Within 10 minutes, it's 30 people all reciting Surah Taha in unison.
Allahu Akbar.
And I was like, wow. And it's a black person, brown person, Chinese person, Japanese person, American. Do you see? Everyone from all around the world. African didn't matter, yet everyone knew exactly what to recite.
SubhanAllah.
In the same riwayah, in the same style. And it was amazing. And, I think this maybe comes when you recite a lot. Everyone knew when to do the mad and what style. Do you see? So that's when I realized that, subhanAllah, this is really an amazing thing. Yeah, I'll be honest, in secondary school, I just saw it as like, there's something on my back. But once I got to 16, 17, I really appreciated it.
Definitely.
And thereafter, I would say, you should surround yourself with people of Qur'an. So once you're independent, you're not in a school, you can choose your friends. You can choose what halaqat you go to, what classes. And if you are someone of Qur'an, Allah will surround you with people of Qur'an.
Allahu Akbar.
So many of my friends, I don't say this as to brag, but it's just Allah. So many of them are Hafidh. And they didn't go to an institution to read. They just did it in their own time. And that's something that encouraged me actually. Because I became Hafidh so early at 12, I kind of stagnated. And then I saw some friends, mashallah, they improved their recitation, they memorized new riwayat, they improved their Arabic, they had a much better. And I saw, is this where my level is? I was here before them, and now they've gone here. So the believers check each other, isn't it? Sabiqun sabiqun, you keep going, one up after the other, and you push each other. So you should surround yourself with like good people and people of Qur'an, people of Islam, and then that's the journey.
Definitely. And one thing I really want to double down on, which is your stage in your journey, which you mentioned. It's not a stage, I guess. It's what the journey is. A lot of the times we need to understand the reality of the journey, and that is something I didn't appreciate until recently, which was one of the reasons people never start the journey of the Qur'an in the first place, and the journey of Hifdh in the first place. Maybe one of the reasons people don't even believe that they want to go to Hajj, even though they're able to physically and financially, is because they don't believe that they meet the requirements to start the journey. The requirements that in their head they believe are there, which is, I need to be clean slate to start the Hajj journey. Even though the Hajj is there, so you come out with a clean slate. So sometimes we impose it upon ourselves before we started the journey. To start the journey of Hifdh, I need to have top tip condition, akhlaq, and everything needs to be dialed in. I need to be productive, and I can't be doing anything that's. And then you realize, and if you realize it's a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that the journey is there to make that, to build that into you. And it's a process. It's a process. Like you said, you were scoring high on the Hifdh board and low on maybe on the on the other board, right? But over time, the Qur'an, it's like the Qur'an dominates all of that. The Qur'an, if it's in your life, it will overtake all of that. Just so they say, if music and the Qur'an and the heart, they can't coexist. One will overtake.
Has to take precedence.
And the Qur'an will overtake. If it's there, it's وَإِنَّهُ لَكِتَابٌ عَزِيزٌ. Indeed, it is a mighty book. It's a noble book, the Qur'an. So if you're on the journey, maybe a message to everyone that's here, and maybe you can further emphasize this. Even if you feel like you're not ready, start the journey, because the Qur'an will make you eventually, inshallah ta'ala, if you're sincere and you'll persevere, you'll become ready on the journey.
The example I give is, some people, when they're quite, let's say, overweight, unhealthy, I have to give up the PFC, I have to give up the fried food, the wings, then I'll go for a run. And I tell people, when you go to the gym or you go for a run and you put like an hour effort, you're sweating, you're tired, and then someone puts, 2 wings of chips in front of you, like, I am not throwing all that effort away.
Beautiful.
It's much easier. And my brother, mashallah, is a gym freak. He used to find it so easy. I wasn't at that time, so I would get burgers. He used to find it so easy to say no to it. I couldn't believe it. Then later when I started exercising, I found it very easy to say no. Obviously you get craving, whatever. But that's what, so to use a similar, with the Qur'an, you might have these bad habits. You might commit certain sins and things. But if you are dedicated to the Qur'an, eventually, like you said, it will overtake.
Allah.
One has to give. Yeah? And I think in secondary school, I had that same battle. You can imagine you're 14, 15, 16.
Of course.
Yeah? And I would say the journey for me is because I've always had the Qur'an in my life. I was saying to my wife before I came here, I said, I think she was giving me Surah Kahf. I can't even remember when I was memorized. I feel like I've always had it. Like I was born with it. I can't remember when I did it. Because it's always been in my life, so there's always that presence of the Qur'an there. You'll know when you've not recited enough Qur'an. You'll know when you do something bad, it's worse if you do it. And it's always an anchor. So it's always pushed me to be a better person. Someone could say, oh, Bakr, you would have had all these issues, as everyone does during your teenage years. But I said, I don't know if I would come out of it in a better place if I didn't have the Qur'an. If you have the Qur'an in your life, there will always be an impetus, a push to get better, to improve.
Yep. Yeah. And what you just mentioned there, it reminded me of something I read this morning. And I want to read it out, which is an interesting perspective. The only downside to being healthy is how in tune you become with your own body. You notice drifts away from baseline more easily. All deviation from the norm hits harder. Not even because you've drifted far, but because you know what being great feels like. When you're on the journey of the Qur'an, and we hear these stories of the likes of Imam Shafi'i rahmatullahi alayhi, where he saw the exposed ankle of a woman, for example.
Oh, yeah.
And he felt the effect of that on his Hifdh. For us, if you take an average person in today's society, they will be like, no, that didn't affect my hifdh. What's the difference between you and Imam Shafi'i? If you take an athlete that's performing at their peak, they've got their diet dialed in, they've got their work, like you said, their training dialed in, their sleep dialed in. And you take someone who has no concern for any of that stuff, and you give them McDonald's for breakfast. The guy who doesn't really care about, doesn't have anything dialed in, he'll be like, yeah, that didn't affect me today. No, I saw no effect on my performance. The athlete, on the other hand, he's like, my time on the track, I got 1 second slower time. My sleep, it didn't feel as dialed. My performance in today's training was, because you know what feeling great feels like. As soon as you now, if you fall into sin, you feel it. You feel it because the Qur'an cleanses. Every time you engage with the Qur'an, you're on the journey of the Qur'an. It's having an effect on the soul. It's keeping it. It's purifying it. It's a means of increasing you in deeds, but also purifying your heart. And so now, when something touches the heart of some impurity, because you're on the journey of the Qur'an, you know what it feels like to have that spiritual high, to have those moments of delight with the Qur'an. So, like you said, training, whether it's training, just get skin in the game, start the process, and you'll find those habits. You're almost forced into it because, like you said, you don't want to undo the efforts that you've gone through.
What I would say to people, we live in a day and age, everything is about productivity, maximizing atomic habits, all of these things. Hifdh, at the end of the day, requires routine, requires discipline, requires consistency. When I was doing my Hifdh, this was my routine. Wake up at 6 a.m., revise, pray. 7 o'clock, you leave the house. 7:30, you leave the house. It's a half an hour journey. 8 o'clock to Dhuhr time, about 4.5 hours, you just Hifdh. Then you have lunch, you pray, and you might play a bit. Then from 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock, it was national curriculum, math, English, science. Get home around 5:30. I remember just 1 hour. I don't know if I should say this. I remember 5:30. I was 11 years old, and I would watch at 6. I would watch at 5:30. I'd watch Neighbours. The soap, probably people don't know it. And at 6 o'clock, I'd watch Simpsons.
Okay.
Yeah, 11 years old, isn't it? Yeah. And then I'd go. That was my routine. And then I'd go to my teacher's house to do Hifdh, memorize, until about 9:30. And I'd come home.
Wow.
And that was my routine every day. And I remember my mum would give me like a 50p. Back then, 50p was enough.
Yeah.
I'd get a crisp.
Quite a whole week's groceries.
Mexican. I remember I used to have a McCoy's Mexican chili. That was my crisp. And it's been discontinued. But I want to have that crisp again, not because it just tastes great, but because it reminds me of that period.
Wow.
When I was working that hard. I would go from secondary school, I'd go to my teacher's house, and I'd just grab a Mexican chili on my way there. I want that feeling again. That was the routine I had. So when you make Hifdh a priority, I know that I need to memorize X amount today. I know to learn X amount, I need to read this much. And I know I am sharp at this time. So you'll organize your day like that.
Accordingly, yeah.
So what will that do? That will have a ripple effect on everything else in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you are focused on the Qur'an and you are busy, you'll be less antagonized by the mundane nature of life and things like this. So I would say like Hifdh has a ripple effect on everything. And I would say now it's amazing. I remember, when you go to university, you have a lot of free time. You fall out of sync with how the real world works. And after I finished university, I got a job. I remember I had to wake up early. And I remember the first week I was so tired at work because I'm not used to it. Because student life, you wake up when you want, you sleep when you want, that life. But routine is taken away. I remember I said, how did I, at 10 years old, do 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. every day, Monday to Friday? Weekends was a bit more normal. So if I didn't have excuses then, why do I have excuses now? So if you know what you're capable of, it's very motivating. So,
that's so true.
I got through university like that. Alhamdulillah, I was in university for a while. I did a few degrees. So I knew just what did
you study at university?
I studied law at university. So I qualified as barrister. So you have to study hard. You have to remember a lot of things. So Hifdh does really help in how you should memorize, how you should revise. There are what's the term I'm looking for? When skills transfer, transferable skills. Sorry,
yes, transferable skills.
That's the word. Transferable skills. So it all
Yes,
compounds. So
definitely.
it's very good.
Definitely. You studied which university did you go to? Was it in London or UK?
I studied at Cambridge. So
Cambridge. Mashallah,
yeah.
mashallah.
So everything's possible. And I remember
Is that how you ended up leading in the Cambridge
at Cambridge Mosque?
Eco Masjid?
Oh yeah. So that's okay. I maybe because we said we'll maybe discuss this today. So this is a nice way to bring it round. So when I was doing my Hifdh, I was almost finished. I was on the 29th juz. My last juz was Juz Qad Sami', Juz 28. And I was on Surah Mujadala. And it was the summertime. And I remember the entire Islam Mosque main hall was empty. No one there. So I thought I'll just sit in the Imam's space. I don't know why I chose... it felt good to be there.
As in like literally in the mihrab?
Yeah, so I was sat in the mihrab. And I wasn't facing the mihrab. I was facing like as you would the...
You could see behind you?
No. As in I was facing the masjid. So it's like I'm looking at everyone if everyone was there.
Yes, got it.
So maybe there was a bit of mischievousness there. Who's going to stop me? Who's going to come stop me? Yeah. But there was also like trying to recreate that in my head. Like maybe one day I'll lead.
Beautiful. Sure.
So I was trying to do that. And then I remember I see like maybe a few rows from me, a man in a proper suit, 3-piece suit. And he's just like, it's like 3:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So he's not saying anything, but I'm just carrying on reciting. I'm reading. After a while, he comes close and he said, Assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum salam. What's your name? I said, my name's Abubakr. And then he says, mashallah, I saw you were reading, but you weren't looking at the Qur'an. Yeah. And then he said, are you trying to become a Hafidh? I said, yes, inshallah. I'll actually be finishing within 3 weeks.
Subhanallah.
Yeah. He said, wow, that's amazing. Mashallah. He said, and he looked proper. He looked wealthy. Yeah. Mashallah. But I didn't think of this. So he then says, mashallah, Abu Bakr, when you finish, what are you going to do afterwards? Are you going to get any gifts, any ceremony? I said, I think they will do a ceremony, but I really don't want anything. My parents have given so much effort. My parents pay for my fees, everything. So I really don't want anything. I'm just happy to finish. He said, that's mashallah, that's very admirable, but surely you should get some gifts, surely. Yeah. He said, I don't know. I don't really want anything. Yeah. And me, even at that age, I understood maybe he wants to give me something. So I would feel embarrassed to accept anything. So he said, no, please share something. So I thought if I say something ridiculous, he'll obviously then not give it. And I knew laptops are like £500-600, isn't it? £600.
Back then as well.
Back then. I said, I'd want a laptop. My older sister, she'd hog the computer. She had her own computer. She would never let us go on it. And if she did, she'd give us a time. 30 minutes, you're off. Yeah. And so I said, a laptop. He goes, okay, mashallah, a laptop. Yeah. And he said, I'd like to give you. And then he said, I'll give you a laptop.
He said, I'll give you a laptop.
I said, that's just ridiculous. You can't, yeah. And then in my mind, so you remember I said I was...
at that point, you think I should have asked for a car.
But I was very... you remember I said I was very competitive.
Yes.
And in that competition, I was with 2 other students who were competing with me to finish first.
Yeah.
So, and I remember some of my relatives as well, they also finished with Al-Mizan a couple of years ago. Okay. But I realized Islam Mosque, I think it's because they didn't have the funds. They couldn't really honor the Huffadh as maybe they would want to. So there was no really big ceremony. It's whatever the family did. Yeah. Yeah. But the school the institution itself didn't do anything like that. So I felt bad. I always remember they never did anything big or anything like that. So I felt bad. I said, if I get a laptop, I would feel embarrassed to take it. My friends who are also competing with me to finish, I'd finish, but I'd also want them to get something. And then maybe some of the Huffadh before they didn't get anything. So I said, I can't just accept this. They should also get something. And also in the back of my mind, if I make it contingent on other people, that would become like thousands he has to pay for, isn't it? He's not going to pay for it. So he said, mashallah, okay. And then he wished me well, all the best.
That's nice you said that though, because I don't feel like a lot of people would say something like that. The fact that you thought about your peers, mashallah, is
yeah,
I think it shows
guess,
something, mashallah.
I guess, alhamdulillah, but I didn't really, my mate, I just like bundled everything together. So my priority, because the 2 friends that were doing Hifdh with me, competing with me, they were also like finishing.
Were they close?
They were close friends, mashallah.
Fine.
So I was also conscious of them, like I imagine if he gives me a laptop, the other 2 don't get anything. Yeah. And then I remembered some of my relatives might be there. They also finished.
Oh, he wanted it to be part of the graduation.
No, he just was going to give me a gift. But in my mind, I thought if he was going to give it to me, he'll probably give it to me at the ceremony. Something like that.
Yeah. You don't want that. Okay, got
in
it.
My head. Yeah. So I said, if he doesn't give it for me, he also can't give it for the others who also deserve it. So just beautiful. I bundled it together. And I thought that would also prevent him from giving it. You can give it to one kid maybe. Yeah. Give it to that many. And so the next day I remember in school, the head teacher comes in. He goes, Abubakr, stand up. And obviously when the head teacher comes in to stand up, everyone goes, ooh. Yeah. He goes, did you meet a man yesterday? with a big suit and everything. I said, yeah, actually, oh yeah, I did, yeah. He goes, do you have any idea who that is? I said, no, I didn't even catch his name. Because you don't think of it, they should ask, no, someone
course,
uncle, their name, that's rude, isn't it? You don't ask. I said, no, and he said his name is Iqbal Khan. He's, he didn't say he's a wealthy man, but he's someone who's affiliated with HSBC, Islamic Finance.
Businessman,
Yeah, and he said he would like to give you a laptop, and he would like to give all the people that are going to finish with you a laptop, and all the Huffadh that have come before from this institution a laptop.
Allahu Akbar.
I said, wow. I said, I didn't know he was rich. I just thought he was being nice.
He said this in front of the
class, yeah. So I said, wow. And then, so then he organized it. I call him Uncle Iqbal. And I remember at the ceremony, so what happened is I did my Hifdh ceremony. He couldn't come to that. So he did a separate one to give the laptop.
Wow.
And he did a separate one. I remember it was in the first floor of the LMC, the London Muslim Centre. And I remember his sons came, his twin sons. And they're the exact same age as I am. Yeah, and they're the same academic year. So I became friends with them, and I remember I would later go camping with them.
Inshallah.
And I became like friends with the family. It wasn't just like he gave me this gift. And subhanAllah, life takes its turn, what it does. And mashallah, he had a daughter, Cambridge graduate, very practicing, mashallah. That almost a perfect child, you could say, as you would want to raise a child. Just very Islamic, very good in school, everything. And unfortunately, she passed away from cancer.
Subhanallah.
At the age of 22, I think.
Subhanallah.
And what he did was he renamed that award that he gave. He wanted to make it like a regular thing. So he named it after his daughter. So that award now is actually called the Barakah Khan.
Subhanallah. That was her name?
Hafidh award. Her name was Barakah Khan, yeah. So it's named after her.
May Allah have mercy on her.
Ameen. And his whole family, mashallah. And he's an amazing man. He was laptop, and then obviously the times changed, so then it became an iPad. And my brother, my youngest brother, he became a Hafidh, also to the same institution, and then he got the iPad. And my laptop, obviously, the processor goes slow and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, man. But they served me well, that laptop, everything. And then it was very proud for me that my brother then gets the iPad because, through that. And then Uncle Iqbal came again.
Akbar.
And it was called just the Huffadh award originally. Then he renamed it after his daughter when she passed away. Rahimahullah. And so what's amazing is just then I became close with the family. So when his daughter passed away, I went to the memorial, everything. So I just kept in touch with Uncle Iqbal. And he would come back every now and again to East London Mosque and would regale everyone with the same story. Do you see? And that's probably where you watched the video.
For the graduations, yeah?
Yeah. So what happened is, because his daughter went to Cambridge, so obviously Uncle Iqbal is a wealthy man. So he helped, he contributed a lot to that eco-masjid.
Oh, mashallah.
Yeah, okay. So then I messaged Uncle Iqbal. I said, Uncle Iqbal, I've led Taraweeh almost every year since I become Hafidh. I'm studying in Cambridge. And this was 2021. You know, when in 2020, we didn't have any Taraweeh, did we? Remember, it was all lockdown, finished.
Yes, of course.
So this was the first year I really missed it. I said, I would love to lead there. Yeah, and just for myself.
We didn't have any Taraweeh in the masajid, as in...
Yeah, in the masajid, sorry. Yeah. So what was amazing, actually, in 2020, I led Taraweeh in my home. So I was able to do one whole khatam.
Yeah.
And this is quite nice, actually. So you guys would know that, in the masjid, they do the hadiyah, they raise money. I find it very embarrassing, but that's the nature of it.
Yeah, in some masajid, they do that.
Yeah, so whatever it is, isn't it? So I would get the hadiyah, and I would always give it to my parents. I'd keep just a tiny bit and just give the rest to my parents, whatever they want to do. Because I became Hafidh on the back of their sacrifices, so I would always give it back to them.
That's beautiful.
So my mum would keep it. And my mum would keep it for me. She wouldn't keep it for herself. She goes, if I give it to him, he'll spend it. So I'll just keep it for him. But she would pretend she's not keeping it for me. She goes, I've got some stuff.
So you discovered it later?
Because, otherwise I would think, I've got that, isn't it? So I can ask for it whenever I want to. She wouldn't give me that. So that year was quite nice. So I didn't lead in a masjid, but I led at home. I did the khatam. So my family then gave me a hadiyah. They said, you get it every year. This year we give it to you.
That's beautiful.
So it was very nice. But anyway, I didn't want to get fast tracked. So this was the first year, the following year, that there's Taraweeh has come back. Everyone missed it, isn't it?
Definitely.
It was amazing. So I thought this masjid would be amazing. So I thought Uncle Iqbal, he'd probably have some relationship with the masjid. So I messaged him. He goes, take this number, message him, tell him Uncle Iqbal recommended you. Yeah? But obviously they have a process. You have to lead salah. They have to see you can recite properly and everything. So alhamdulillah, they thought I was good enough. So I led salah there. And it was amazing. I'll tell you why it was amazing. There was no khatam. I like khatam. But that's the first time in my life I'm not doing khatam. But the Imam, Imam Sayyad, he said, what we'll do, we can't do a khatam because what they did, they had a rule, they had to get everyone out of the masjid within a certain time because of COVID restrictions. So what we'll do, we'll try to read a portion from every juz or every surah as much as we can. Each night. So it feels like a khatam, maybe. So that's what we did. And because there was quite a few imams, you led one night and you took a break another night. You know, like it's like how the haram do it, isn't it?
And because you were traveling in you're studying in Cambridge at the time?
Yeah, I was studying. So I would come from my college.
You didn't have to commute.
Yeah, I'd commute. So I had, you know, those scooters you see, the electric scooters.
Yes, yeah.
So the people in the masjid, they would see the imams coming, and then he's on a scooter, and then I'd park.
Mashallah.
What's amazing is I remember the first day. So the electric scooter, it's programmed to only work in certain areas of Cambridge.
Okay.
And where the Eco Masjid is, the Cambridge Central Mosque, it doesn't go there. So once you get there, it won't work. It just turns off. I remember the first day, it got halfway and it wouldn't work. He says, you have to park the bike now. It doesn't go there.
Wow.
I said, so I have to walk. It was very far. So my college, my Cambridge college, was on the other side of town.
Yeah.
So it'd be like an hour. So, but with the scooter, it'll take like 30 minutes. Yeah. But if I walk, it's even longer. So I remember that day, I said, Ya Allah, you know, sincerely, I want to just lead there. I'm going to send them an email to allow access. Please just accept it.
To the company? To
the company. So I sent them an email. I said, look, this month, everyone's trying to get there. It's Ramadan. And I gave it all. You know, it's Ramadan. It's been locked down. I tried to get there. It's a very busy area. You know, all of this. The next day, I looked at the map where it says, you know, the green zone where you can go. And the masjid is right there in the middle. So
SubhanAllah.
I was accepted. So I would take the scooter. And it was really nice. And what I really enjoyed was I led Salah, but I could read the portions I wanted to at the pace I wanted to. When you're doing Khatam, you read Hadr style, isn't it? A bit faster.
Yes, you do have to, yeah.
But that, I read...
Enjoyed it.
I loved it. I could read the portions I liked. Yeah. And one of my favorite surahs is Surah Yusuf. Everyone's favorite surah, isn't it? Like, you know, different. And I made a special request. I said to the Imam, I said, can I just these 2 nights read back to back and I'll read Surah Yusuf. Beautiful. So I read half of one, you know, in just 12 bit, and the next day I read from... And it was really nice. I stopped, you know, when he's just made the minister. And then the next night I read when the brothers come back and he meets and then he's reconciled with all of them. So it was amazing. And do you see where Uncle Iqbal just gave one recommendation reference, so they allowed me to interview with them. And he gave it. And what's amazing, he's just an amazing person. Then I remember when I got married, I sent him a message. I'm like, Uncle Iqbal, this is my nikah date. I would love it if you can come. He doesn't live in the UK. He lives in UAE.
Inshallah.
So... but out of courtesy, out of respect, I'll obviously give him the invitation. He blue ticks me, doesn't respond, nothing. So I messaged his son. I said, I messaged your dad. He's not responding. He goes, oh, no, he told me you're getting married. I said, so why didn't he respond? Yeah. I said, oh. So I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, isn't it? So he doesn't reply and say, congratulations, you know, nephew, I can't make it. I'm so sorry. Nothing.
Yeah.
Then the day before my nikah, he calls me, Abubakr, I'm flying in from Kuwait. Can you tell me if it's in the East London Mosque?
Allah.
I said, oh my God. So he came on Dhuhr time on a Saturday, I remember, and he gave the speech and he again regaled everyone with the story about the laptop. And mashallah, he's an amazing man.
Amazing.
And,
so he gave a speech at your nikah as well?
Yeah, he gave it. And he gave a very beautiful speech. It was very, you can tell he's a amazing speaker, and it was just amazing. And I told him, you know, Uncle, please come to the house, everything. He couldn't come, he had to do other things.
Yeah.
It was amazing that he came.
Yeah.
So that's the person he is. And he has that. Why? Because he loves the Qur'an. And he honored the Qur'an. Obviously Allah's blessed him with a lot of wealth, everything.
And he kept doing it even after your year?
Yeah, every year. He's still there. So whoever becomes Hafidh this year will get...
2026 still there?
Someone will get it, yeah.
And it started when? And he
2007.
backdated 2007.
And he backdated it, yeah, as well.
Allah.
So before me, some people became Hafidh. He gave them a laptop.
Yeah,
and now it's just an iPad. Not just an iPad, but an iPad.
Yeah, an iPad, of course. And it's every year, even this year, it's a thing. It's his.
Yeah, it's there. It's called the Barakah Khan Huffadh award. It's amazing.
Allahu Akbar.
So that's a sadaqah jariyah for her, and it's amazing. And I think it gives the honor to the Quran as well.
Yeah.
And do you see, it makes it, you know, when people come to the ceremony, kids who aren't Hafidh, they'll see, oh, subhanAllah, it's amazing. So
maybe inshallah we can have in the future, perhaps if he's willing to
inshallah when
have
a
conversation.
When he's in the country,
inshallah. We might have to go to him.
Yeah, no, as you should.
May Allah bless him. May Allah bless him.
So
it also shows, and to be honest, that was one of my reflections from the story, right? Because it's there's a video I think about 6-7 years ago, and it's both of you speaking. Maybe we can actually put it at the end of this podcast. Might have to ask East London Masjid not to copyright strike us, but I'm sure we can sort that out, inshallah. But maybe include it at the end of the podcast so people can understand what we're talking about, discussing here. It's you're both describing, so it cuts between you two. And one of the main reflections I had from it was, subhanallah, he was on the journey of Qur'an himself. He was sitting there actually, I think, reciting from the Mus'haf or on the journey.
I think he was just praying Dhuhr, and then I think he was just doing a bit of Qur'an recitation afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. So he's on his own journey with the Qur'an. And he saw someone that inspired him, that's, mashallah, become a Hafidh. And he made, he's perhaps motivated many people to finish their hifdh as well. And it's a message as well, that for many people that are watching, look, perhaps your role in society is when you see someone excelling in the Qur'an, when you see someone excelling in their deen, whether it's a student of knowledge, like we used to have in our golden ages, right? The awqaf that was set up, established. Maybe Allah Azza wa Jalla has given you the ability to fund, like Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu anhu, who funded, who bought wells, who was able to fund certain expeditions.
It's still going.
It's still going. The bank account is bigger than it ever was, right?
It's amazing.
And so see what your skill is. See what Allah Azza wa Jalla has given you, open doors in maybe your career, you're wealthy. And of course, make sure you have a part in the Qur'an, just like Khalid ibn Walid radiallahu anhu. He didn't leave the Qur'an, but he had his part to play in elevating the word of Allah Azza wa Jal, right? In his field that he was an expert in, right? Riding horses and strategy, military. He had his field, but he still never deprived himself of actually still engaging with the Qur'an, even though he wished he engaged with it to a high level. But we can all say that he's someone that was from the people of the Qur'an because he lived through that. Whether it's getting your wealth behind it, whether it's getting your mind behind it. I think there's a powerful message in that for all those that are.
It's amazing. It's just I think every successful person that I see that's of the deen, they have a good relationship with the Qur'an. And I would say even in my own life, there were times where I was closer to the Qur'an and sometimes where I was a bit more distant.
Yeah.
And I always saw the happy times, the good times, the successful times, I was close to the Qur'an. And the times where I was maybe going through difficulty, not in a great mood, I was a bit more distant from the Qur'an. I remember when I was going through a difficult period in my life, I remember one of my friends, I was just speaking to him candidly. I said, and he says, Abubakr, maybe this is, but you always like have a good relationship with the Qur'an. I can't see that Allah would just forsake you like that. This is just like maybe a test for you. Just go through it. And I just can't see it. And he says, I've known you for so long. I've seen you other periods in your life. But I was like, he'll be okay because he has a good relationship with the Qur'an. So once you improve the relationship with the Qur'an, it's amazing. Like the wealth of the depth that there is to the Qur'an. One thing is just to memorize it. Like I saw so many levels to it. You memorize it. Then you have to improve your recitation. You improve your makharij. Then you improve your tune. Then you learn different riwayat. There's 20 that we know of. You learn them. And then even with the different variations there are, you learn different fiqh rules, things like how different things should be. Tafsir, exactly. Different mufassirin, different levels, how you can interpret it, different times how they interpret different verses. And it's amazing. Some verses mean a lot to you in a certain time in your life. Other verses mean something. And same verses mean differently to you. I was telling you in the beginning, the Hajj verses I never even thought twice about. But yeah, I look at them so differently now.
Allahu Akbar.
Or the verse about rizq maybe, or the verses about, or I'm married now, so verse about marriage. You look at everything very differently.
Yes, yeah.
Even verses on inheritance, they're famously very complicated verses. And Yusuf Mullah, very famous page that's very complicated. I always make mistakes.
No one wants to lead with them. Everyone's trying to.
I was always like the guy who wants to take the.
Oh, mashallah.
Because I thought as an incentive, it would force me to fix it.
Beautiful.
But even then, I would still make mistakes because it's that confidence, isn't it?
Yes.
If you have it in your head, you're gonna make a mistake.
Yes.
But so even the inheritance verses, obviously we're so young right now, we probably don't have to deal with that. We get older, parents pass away, we have to deal with these things.
Yeah.
These verses will mean something entirely different to you.
Yeah.
So
it's and that actually leads me on to a crucial part of this podcast, which is the question then, if we fast forward to today, Allahumma barik, mashallah, clearly Allah Azza wa Jalla grant you success in your career, in your family, mashallah, and you've achieved something that a lot of parents that are probably watching this would love for their children to achieve. You excelled academically as well, mashallah, tabarakallah. You studied and graduated from University of Cambridge. You led in Cambridge Masjid, mashallah, tabarakallah.
Alhamdulillah.
How much of that, before I say this next part, I want to preface it by saying that a lot of parents, for the longest time ever, Hifdh was looked at as the B Tech to the A level. The plan, not plan B, the plan Z. If you don't make it here, okay, then you have to become a imam, or you have to become a. Reflecting on those stages, applying, going through A levels, right? What were the subjects that you studied? What were the results you got? Applying to university, getting into Cambridge, graduating. Through those periods in your life, how was the Qur'an and your memorization of the Qur'an? How much of it was a foundation to your success in those phases?
I'm so happy you said that. Wallahi, it's a very pertinent point that you make, that it's why the best and brightest, they just go on to just become like great doctors, lawyers, financiers. There's nothing wrong with that. But why can't you also make them excel in the Qur'an, in Arabic, in these things? Why not? And you should try to do both. And I would say you easily can. It just has to be a priority for you. If it's not, you won't get there. So I would say for me, in terms of motivation, because how hard I worked at that age, it always was a good reminder for me when I got older. Maybe you felt a bit lazy or you procrastinated, that no, I'm capable of working that hard, so I will work that hard. I can. That's a good motivation. In terms of routine, so if you always make Quran a priority as part of your routine, you'll always do well. I'm most productive. I know Ramadan has its own barakah, but I think because I'm leading Taraweeh, my Quran, my revision, my muraja'ah is at the center of my whole day. So there's so much good routine in that, and there's so much efficiency, so you do very well. So I think people should not look at like Quran and things, this is like something like, just for the mesab or, for the period. It's something that's amazing, and you can make that overlap into everything else. The successful one is not it's great just to be an alim and you just know Islam. It's great. And it's also great to be just a doctor and a lawyer or a judge or a businessman. Do you see? But to have both, that is where the real honor is. And look at Uncle Iqbal. He's hugely successful in Islamic finance, but he has that huge love and appreciation for Islam, for Quran, so he's been able to merge two.
Mm-hmm.
So he's done that. So I always had that hope for myself. One thing I perhaps didn't share with you is when I went to the Quran competition, what they would do is they would allow you to streamline your process to go to Medina University. Do you see? So I thought at the time, I only saw Medina students. They would just go there, study, they'd come back, and they wouldn't do anything else. So I thought, would I be pigeonholed into that? At that age, what do I know at 15, 16? So I didn't really want that for myself. I wanted to really love Islam, have a really good understanding of Islam and the Quran, but also do something in another area of life.
Yep.
Yeah. I remember when at work, somehow or another things come up that, you're a Hafidh, things like this. So people find it amazing, fascinating.
At your work?
At work, people do as well.
Oh, and you work in, what is your
like law? Like I'm saying, different times in my life when I worked at different stages. Somehow or another, like maybe if there was a Muslim colleague, we'd talk, and then this is how it would come up. And they would say, "Oh, this is the first time." Do you see? So it's the Quran. What it does is, like I say, it's always an anchor. It maintains your ethics. It maintains your values. So if you are someone who's a very ethical person because of the Quran, they go into the legal industry or business, you'll be like an ambassador of Islam.
SubhanAllah. In
that field. Now, if you're just an alim, you'll be surrounded by people perhaps in that area, and you can be of benefit to the community. I understand that, but there is a lot of like untapped areas of society that just aren't there. And you see more and more Muslims go into entrepreneurship and different areas. This is really good, and being more successful in different areas. Do you see? Yes. Now we see more and more footballers. Do you see? So it's like the Premier League has had to normalize, like the fasting. They allow the fasting. The referee blows the whistle. Everyone can take a break. This has been normalized because people are taking their Islam into areas where sectors were otherwise overlooked. So
they're embodying it in spaces that wouldn't have got into that space before. A hadith wouldn't have got into that space before. But now the characters come in, and that leads the person then to go on further.
That's what it is. I would say, even if for people listening, let's say your son or your daughter doesn't become a Hafidh, but you maintain that love for the Quran. That so long as that love is there, it'll manifest into everything else. Everything else. Just make sure you prioritize that. And subhanAllah, even for me, it's amazing that when I was looking to get married, obviously you speak to certain people, isn't it? And I remember people say, "Oh, mashallah, you're a Hafidh," and that's where it ends. "Oh, mashallah, you're a Hafidh." It's good, yeah, but people don't appreciate it, like the love of the Quran. That's what you want, yeah. So, alhamdulillah, when I found someone who really genuinely appreciates the Quran, then I see, oh, look at the Quran is even supporting me this way.
SubhanAllah.
Well, even when I was in university, everyone has a part-time job. Me personally, I don't have the will for like working Sainsbury's, Tesco. My brother did. I don't know how he did it. I just can't do it. I'm just not that kind of person.
Yeah.
And I don't look down upon it or anything like that. I just can't do it. But subhanAllah, because I was a Hafidh, I could teach people Quran, so I did tutoring.
Beautiful.
And two people became Hafidh with me.
MashaAllah.
So that was also a way to reinforce my revision, become a better tutor, how to teach. Amazing. All of this, it was much better. But see, so it was a risk for me as well. So it's so many different ways. Everything, it comes back. The Quran always comes back. It always honors you. And I always remember Umar ibn Khattab's quote. Islam honored us. And if you try to get honor through anything else, you will not get it. You will get it through Islam.
نحن قوم أعزنا الله بالإسلام.
Exactly. So,
SubhanAllah. And there's so much more to be discussed and so much more to go into, inshallah. Especially what the Qur'an looks like in a workplace. What does it mean to embody the Qur'an? What does it mean to live with the Qur'an? That's our goal. Our goal is to live, يقال لصاحب القرآن, to the companion of the Qur'an, to the person that lived with it. So that's our aim, inshallah ta'ala, to live with the Qur'an till we meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Before we discuss that any further, we want to live with a bit of recitation, inshallah.
Okay,
so, يعني ما تيسر من القرآن بإذن الله.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحج أشهر معلومات، فمن فرض فيهن الحج فلا رفث ولا فسوق ولا جدال في الحج، وما تفعلوا من خير يعلمه الله، وتزودوا فإن خير الزاد التقوى، واتقون يا أولي الألباب. ليس عليكم جناح أن تبتغوا فضلا من ربكم، فإذا أفضتم من عرفات فاذكروا الله عند المشعر الحرام، واذكروه كما هداكم وإن كنتم من قبله لمن الضالين. ثم أفيضوا من حيث أفاض الناس واستغفروا الله إن الله غفور رحيم. فإذا قضيتم مناسككم فاذكروا الله كذكركم آباءكم أو أشد ذكرا، فمن الناس من يقول ربنا آتنا في الدنيا وما له في الآخرة من خلاق، ومنهم من يقول ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. أولئك لهم نصيب مما كسبوا والله سريع الحساب.
اللهم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. That's been the theme of this conversation, I believe, subhanAllah. And barakallah feekum for that recitation about the ayat of Hajj. It's interesting that dua that you mentioned, it comes alongside the ayat of Hajj, but it comes actually in the middle of it, in the middle of it, subhanAllah. And you think Hajj is all about reminding you of the akhirah, yet we're told to make this dua, which is, oh Allah, grant us the best in the akhirah. But before that, ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. And it's mentioned that that's the umbrella of dua. That dua, every other dua that you can make, it comes underneath it. It's encompassed in that dua, because that's truly what success is. Why are we told to ask for good in this dunya as well? Why what's the reasoning behind that? Why aren't we told to just ask for the good in the akhirah?
I think it's ultimately having good in the dunya allows other people to allows yourself, because of the peace and calmness and security that comes with it, allows you to be a better worshipper of Allah. That's why you should ask for good in this dunya. You don't ask for good just so you have a good life and you feel good and it's, massages your ego. It's not about that. It's that I am in a space where I can worship Allah in security, in safety, in happiness. And yes, I'll have tough times, but at the same time, when I am in a good place, I can worship Allah very well. And then you can build foundations, institutions where other people also have the relationship. Everyone was always suffering in the dunya. You wouldn't be able to build legacies, build lasting impact. You just wouldn't be able to. And if everyone just focused on the akhirah, it'd just be, well, just suffer, and then obviously in the akhirah. But it's, Allah gives both, you know. So that's the way I see it. That you should ask for the good, and that is what you should seek. That you should seek not like prosperity for the sake of prosperity. You should seek prosperity for the sake of being able to do good,
provide benefit.
Sometimes you might not have the means to service everyone in society,
of course,
but maybe you're sufficient for your family and your dependents, and then they can then carry it on. So it's like that. That's how I see it anyway. I like the zakah. Like zakah is shared. Why? Because if you alleviate someone suffering with zakah, you help them. Why? That allows them, gives them room, space. If someone is constantly trying to make ends meet, where would they have time to worship Allah? Constantly working, trying to make. Do you see? So that's why I think you should ask for both.
Allahu Akbar.
Yeah.
It's, and on that topic as well. Interestingly, the messengers that received the wahi, they worked too.
Yeah.
They were shepherds. They were people that worked with their hands. They were the people that were in the field, like literally, you know, herding animals, sheep, managing flock. Maybe there's a lesson in that. اعملوا آل داود شكرا. Act in gratitude, O family of Dawood alayhi salam. Dawood alayhi salam was he used to, you know, develop and build chainmail. Every prophet had a craft. Certain ones were carpenters, and so they used to work too. They used to work.
Yeah.
Because that also builds something in, and whilst you're working, and وفي الآخرة حسنة, you don't become tied down to the dunya. There's a next stage. So we're taught to ask for the best in this world, because if you're given the best in this world, like you said, subhanAllah, it serves your akhirah. The likes of, mashallah, our brother Iqbal Khan, for example. Every one of us should think Allah's given us something in the dunya. Jobs, careers, whatever it may be. How can we use that to make that serve the akhirah as well?
Yeah, definitely, 100%. I agree with that. I think it's all about being a great ambassador for Islam in every path of your life. And you can only be an ambassador for Islam if you understand what Islam is, and you can only find it in the Qur'an and in the Prophet's life. The two go in tandem. That's one thing in my Hifdh journey. You just learn about the Qur'an, but you don't learn about the Prophet's life in depth, why the verses were revealed one after the other. So inshallah.
So alhamdulillah, what a conversation, immensely beneficial, and we've now come to the well-known round in the Hifdhstatus Podcast, which is known as the quick fire round, which always ends up being a long fire round, but the questions are quick. The idea is questions and answers, but the questions are quick and answers. It's a Qur'an, so there's so much to discuss. The first question to you is favorite surah and why?
I think I mentioned it earlier, but I don't want to give a cliched answer. I love Surah Yusuf. Everyone loves Surah Yusuf, I think. It is just one story. But I like it because of its story and the morals and lessons you take from it. And there are really nice verses, like لا تثريب عليكم اليوم, there is no problem on you. And the message that he says, you know, نزغ الشيطان بيني وبين إخوتي وقال you know, when he says that Allah is taking care of me, everything, and then he doesn't blame his brother, and you know, he just says shaitan did that.
ربي قد آتيتني من
ربي قد آتيتني من الملك وعلمتني مما يشاء. So and then he says at the end, إن ربي لطيف لما يشاء. So how Allah is very subtle. I think today what this Hifdhstatus episode has allowed me to do is look back on my life and see how everything kind of comes together. Like I'm sure when Yusuf alayhi salam was in the prison, he couldn't foresee himself being reunited with his brothers, being the prime minister, having the life he then eventually had. But then at the end, when you're on the other side, you see it. Now, me, I'm just halfway, inshallah, through my life. But even now, I can see how Allah has been latif in my life. Inna Rabbi latif lima yasha, how He's kept everything pristine. So I love Surah Yusuf, obviously. But I would say the surah that has a lot of my favorite verses that I take a lot of inspiration from is Surah Tawbah. And I remember Surah Tawbah, even it stood out because obviously it doesn't have basmala. So it stood out for me even when I was younger. And it has a lot of my favorite verses. It has one of my favorite stories, which is the Surah Ka'b ibn Malik, which Allah refers to directly. And this is just to prove, some people, they say, oh, well, the Prophet ﷺ, they almost separate that from the Quran. It's impossible. The Quran literally directly itself refers to incidents from the seerah. Sometimes indirectly, sometimes directly. Ka'b ibn Malik's story is one of them. You know, وَعَلَى الثَّلَاثَةِ الَّذِينَ خُلِّفُوا, his whole story. And I find that such a human story that he just procrastinated. The Prophet called for Tabuk. It was a huge expedition. The most furthest expedition the Prophet did.
North of South.
Yeah, and I think it was like over 500 miles or something.
Yes, yeah.
And everyone just got together. And that's the famous story. You know, Abu Bakr and Umar were competing. And Umar said, today I'm going to beat Abu Bakr. That's the famous story. It happened in that incident for Tabuk. And Ka'b ibn Malik, he just procrastinates. He just doesn't get around to it. He just doesn't go. Ultimately, there was no battle, but they come back and he doesn't get the reward of it. And everyone marginalizes him. Do you see? ثُمَّ تَابَ عَلَيْهِمْ لِيَتُوبُوا. Then they make that they can come back to Allah. Then Allah says, إِنَّ اللَّهُ تَوَّابٌ رَحِيمٌ. Allah forgive. So it's very reassuring for us that we make the same mistakes as Ka'b ibn Malik. We procrastinate. We don't really focus. In this day, what happened actually, people don't actually think about it deeply. Conscription in this country, or in any country, the penalty is jail. That's why Muhammad Ali became very famous, because he was conscripted into going to the military in Vietnam and he refused. So they took away his license, all of this, his boxing license. Ka'b, essentially, the price is conscripted, isn't it? It's like you have to go for Tabuk. And he didn't, so isn't it? So then he was marginalized. And what I found amazing is when Allah accepts his tawbah, everyone comes and hugs him and congratulates him. Everyone's happy for him. So that's amazing for us, isn't it? It's a lesson in, you can make a mistake, but it's how you come back. So that's amazing. Obviously, the other story of when the Prophet and Abu Bakr were in the cave, Allah refers to that in Surah Tawbah as well. إِذْ يَقُولِ لِصَاحِبِهِ, when he said to two of them, لَا تَحْزَنْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ مَعَنَا. Don't worry, Allah will take, Allah is with us. Many times you really do feel like that. Another verse in the surah, فَلْيَضْحَكُوا قَلِيلًا وَلْيَبْكُوا كَثِيرًا. Laugh little, cry more. Or is it, no, فَلْيَضْحَكُوا قَلِيلًا. Laugh little, cry more. And so a lot of my favorite verses that I take inspiration from, that I love, and then how the surah finishes, isn't it? فَقُلْ حَسْبِيَ اللَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا
قَدْ جَاءَكُمْ رَسُولٌ.
Yeah, so it's about having that tawakkul on Allah. So I love Surah Tawbah, and it's a surah that I remember as well. I memorize very quickly. So I also have good memories of memorizing it. Yeah, some foods, I have good memories of that food, so I always enjoy eating it. Perhaps you have good association with it. So Tawbah, I have good association with it. I memorized it well. I really love it. So many stories, and it goes back to the seerah, so many different parts. Yeah, it's a very long surah. So I love it, and it's a surah that's long enough but not too long. Yeah, it's a long surah, but it's long, like it's not overbearing, and I really love it. And then there's other verses of the surahs that I love. But I would say Surah Tawbah overall.
Beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful answer. Jazakallah khair. You mentioned a Sahabi, which leads to the next question. Favorite Sahabi?
Well, my name is Abu Bakr, so I have to go with Abu Bakr radiallahu an. He is like one of one, subhanallah, what I found amazing is when I was preparing for Hajj, I obviously listened to the Hajj workshops and things. So I went over as well, the recommendation of a friend, that you listen to the Prophet ﷺ's Hajj al-Wada', you go through all of it. And I found amazing that when the Prophet ﷺ fell ill, and he knew he was going to die, and he was trying his best to recover and to get back into the masjid, to give nasiha, to give advice. And the Prophet ﷺ knew he was going to die, and then he comes to the masjid one last time, and the Sahabas are so happy to see him because he's been ill for so long, and he hasn't been able to lead the salah. And he says, I've just received news that there's a servant of Allah who's been offered the whole world or to go back to his Lord. And this servant has chosen to go back to his Lord. And all the Sahabas are like, wow, what amazing. Who is this servant, isn't it? And everyone was happy. And the Abu Bakr radiallahu anh starts crying because he knew the servant that the Prophet is referring to is himself. And the Prophet has chosen to go back to Allah. And then the Prophet looks at him and says, Abu Bakr, don't cry. Don't cry. If I could choose one Khalil, Khalil means very close friend, isn't it? Yeah. But I've chosen Allah. But if I could choose one, I'll choose Abu Bakr. So that's amazing. And even at the end, when the Prophet asked all of them, have I fulfilled my duty as a... And he said, have I given everyone's rights back? Have I paid everyone's debts? And he said, I've paid everyone back. Except who? Except Abu Bakr. I've not paid him back. I can't give him back what he's done, sacrificed. And it's just so amazing. Like, because my name is Abu Bakr, everyone who, when they would see me, oh, what's your name? Abu Bakr. MashaAllah. It's that respect they have. So that always carried with me. Like, if Abu Bakr gets in trouble, Abu Bakr can do it. Like, do you see? It's like an oxymoron. Abu Bakr is in trouble. It doesn't make sense. When I went to Palestine in 2016, doesn't make sense, but I kind of was amazed by it. When the Palestinians would ask me, what's your name? I would say Abubakar. They go, no, that's not your name. Is that like just a nickname? What's your actual name? I said, no, my name's Abubakar. I remember one girl, she started crying. She goes, in Palestine, we don't give that name out of respect. Really. It's too heavy a name. That doesn't make sense because people name each other Muhammad or Umar, isn't it? But I think maybe I think it's flawed, but I just saw that they have that much respect for Abu Bakr. Yeah. So I think all my life, they say you should give your son a good name. And I think it's good when you give it someone who's like a hero of Islam because they might be inspired by it.
Definitely.
So what's funny, actually, I remember once the Amazon delivery driver, not the delivery driver, the delivery person, he came to the house. And, you familiarize yourself. It's the same guy almost all the time, isn't it? So he goes, this parcel is for Abu Bakr. And I go, oh, that's for me. He looks at me, he's a Muslim guy. He goes, Abu Bakr Siddiq? Yeah, and I go, most of the time. Yeah. And then he starts laughing. I go, do you see? It's like you have to try your best to live up to that. And it's amazing. And I think the greatest tribute that I've seen ever, I think it sums up everything, is when Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu passed away. And Ali radiallahu anhu, he came. And he says, you can rest now. Khalifa Rasul, you can rest now. You are the father to the believers when we had all become orphans. I just found that amazing. After the Prophet ﷺ died, they were all in panic. And even the Islamic State was about to disintegrate because everyone thought, the Ridda wars, you saw Musaylim and all of that. But he kept it all together. He set it up for Umar. And then he did so much sacrifice and everything. And it's amazing that, I don't know how, he's just amazing, the person. He's just so many virtues he has. I could just go on and on and on. And I take great pride. It's heavy, a name to carry, but you also take great pride that I'm named after someone amazing, and you try to. No one can come close to him ever. Yeah, impossible. Yeah. But you try, and you can. Inshallah, maybe in Jannah.
And you'll be with those you love.
Inshallah. So in Jannah, so he's my favorite. But others, I also like. Abu Bakr is the obvious one, but I love Sa'd ibn Mu'adh.
Sa'd ibn Mu'adh.
Yeah, it's when the throne of Allah shook.
SubhanAllah.
But his story is amazing.
Muslim for 6 years.
For 6 years it shook.
6 years.
Oh, I didn't know that bit.
When he embraced Islam to when he died. 6 years.
It was SubhanAllah. Yeah, and just how he was such a just man, and he was very soft, and he was just amazing. And then when the Battle of Badr happened, because the Prophet agreed with the Aus and the people of Medina that you don't have to fight with us. Just it's a state. And the Prophet was almost embarrassed to ask the Ansar to fight with them. And Sa'd ibn Mu'adh knew the Prophet couldn't ask. So he volunteered. He goes, no, Ya Rasulullah, we will fight with you to the end. He volunteered it. No, and he just knew. He's just, he's Sa'd ibn Mu'adh. Yeah.
That's a beautiful, mashallah. Yes. That's a companion that I don't think many people know his name, subhanAllah, as for what he did in the seerah. When he became Muslim, many of the Ansar became Muslim with him, subhanAllah, because he was a leader. Favorite hadith?
I mentioned that, but it's a quite dark hadith, isn't it? Where people were dragged on their faces. That's something that's stayed with me. I think another one, because I was a very competitive person, and when you're competitive, you don't want the other guy to win all the time, isn't it? Yeah. But in Islam, it's about everyone winning. You cannot win at the expense of someone else. It's about bringing someone else with you to win. That's the way I've come to learn and understand it. So for me, my favorite hadith would be, لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب لنفسه. None of you will truly believe until you truly love for your brother what you love for yourself. And that, if you really truly internalize that, that is the struggle of the dunya. Is to compete. It's trying to be richer than the other guy, or have more status than the other guy, have the bigger house than the other guy, have more children. It's that. And sometimes you can't always be happy when the other person gets something you wanted. But if you truly internalize that, and you just wish better for someone, Allah bless him more, then what do the angels say? And for you, the same. So as you get older and you mature, when you're a kid, what do you everyone really has the same. Everyone going to the same school, same class, isn't it? When you get older, you have your own money, your own independence. You can make of your life what you want.
Yes.
That's when that hadith means a lot more to you.
Yes.
So, you should, especially with your family, you can, things can compete. But you should see as your success is my success. My success is your success. Allah. So that, I would say, is my favorite hadith. It's very easy to remember as well.
No, definitely. It's a beautiful hadith. Who would you say? This is an interesting one. We've never done this one before, but this is most underrated surah in your opinion.
How do you define underrated?
It's a good question. we'll go to definitions. I would say يعني underrated in terms of a surah that is not recited often in the masajid, in the mihrab. And so therefore, what's recited usually in the mihrab is usually what people hear.
Okay,
Ayat, like you said, end of passage of Surah Al-Baqarah.
always.
إِنَّ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا رَبُّنَا اللَّهُ وَثُمَّ اسْتَقَامُوا. There was some passages of the Qur'an that are generally recited because, like you said, people step into the mihrab, and some shaykh said this is a sign of a strong hafidh that he recites from places that people don't usually recite from. So what would you say is
what I would say is when I did my Cambridge interview where I had to lead Isha, I made 2 mistakes. But I remember the Imam afterwards says, I was very impressed because you read from the end of Surah Ra'd, which is a place not a lot of people read. He said, so I took it like that. So that's on that point. Underrated, I would say, in Juz Amma, because it's such a common Juz that everyone picks from, but there's some surahs that no one ever chooses to read. And one of them, I would say, is Surah Mutaffifin. No one ever, there's no sajda in it, so you can read. And it's a good length, but no one ever reads it. Maybe it's because it's a bit of a difficult surah. So I would say Surah Mutaffifin is quite underrated. I think Surah Qalam is the underrated surah in Surah Tabarak. No one ever quotes it. No one ever chooses to read it in Salah. Even the ending, you know. So I would say Surah Qalam. In terms of some of the surahs in the middle, I remember I think Surah Nahl is a surah people don't often read. It's a very difficult surah. When I was in the Haram, I was so proud. Sheikh Maher Mu'aqli, he read from there.
Surah Al-Nahl.
Yeah.
It's a lovely surah, yeah.
It's a tough surah.
It's a tough surah. It's a long surah.
Yeah, it's tough. But so I get that. So I would say Surah Nahl. Surah Yunus also as well. People don't really... Surah Yunus.
Definitely.
Come on the others, yeah. So there's not
Surah
that
Yunus,
many.
definitely.
Surah Yunus, definitely. Surah Mutaffifin, I would say in Juz Amma. Surah Naziat even. But the ending of people Naziat, people read a lot.
Surah Mutaffifin, people are scared of that surah, you know?
But it's an amazing surah.
It's a beautiful surah. But it's the mutashabihat, I think, in the page. كلا بل ران على أنني كلا إن كتاب البراء كلا إن كتاب الفجار.
I get that. So so.
But this is also motivation for people.
Surah Zukhruf as well, and I am guilty of that.
Surah Zukhruf.
Yeah. So Surah Zukhruf, without question, hands down, is my hardest surah.
الأخلاء يومئذ بعضهم.
Yeah, it's just so hard for me. In all my years, I've led Taraweeh now 15 years. In my 15 years, I only got Surah Zukhruf once.
And
like I was stressing so much and so I would say that's a commitment of mine. Like to make that surah, like I can read it on autopilot, cruise control, I can read that surah. And also I've not really looked into tafsir of that surah, I also would want to. So it's very hard surah. I can't, it's just, The other surahs I've strengthened, Dukhan, Jathiyah, Shura. Just this one.
Yeah.
I don't know, I can't.
Yeah. There's always one surah from the Hawamim that you need to spend more time with. What's one thing that you wish you knew before you started your Hifdh journey?
Oh, that's a good question. Because at 10 years old, like, what do you don't really know anything, isn't it? So when it comes to these questions, I say, what is it fair for that 10-year-old to know at that age? And I would say maybe someone maybe older than him, and speaking about myself, maybe encouraged to what he's reading, that he knows kind of vaguely what it's about, what it's reading. Someone gives him that tarbiyah.
Story.
Yeah. So I think if you're a father, your mother, if you see your son doing your hifdh and he's, I don't know, he's on Surah Wash-Shamsi wa duhaha, common surah, or Surah, I don't know, Surah Al-Imran, explain to him, why is it called that surah? What's that surah about? It's like story time.
Lovely.
And my dad did that with a few surahs, like Surah Fil. Everyone knows that surah, isn't it? When I was a kid, oh wow, it's an amazing surah, with the elephants come and the birds and destroy them. And he would tell me the whole story. That inspired me. So if I had like more of a relationship with different surahs growing up, that would be good. Or maybe I should have, asked my parents to tell me, or my teachers even. So I think that's something I would encourage.
Lovely.
Like because it helps you have an early relationship with the Qur'an.
That's very
early.
Nice.
So that's something I just saw it as memorization. I didn't see it more of a relationship. So if someone gave me the encouragement, I would have appreciated that.
MashaAllah, it's beautiful. Next question. If there was one quality that you could say got you through your Hifdh journey, what would you say that quality is?
I would genuinely, I know this is a very odd quality to say, but it was that competitiveness. I just could not accept like someone who's close, like similar to me, just finishing before me or being ahead of me. So that just pushed me. I would think, if I've memorized this much, he's probably memorized that much. I'm going to memorize more. So that's how it was. And that really pushed me. like just to be better, to memorize more, to revise more, not to fall behind. And I just loved that pursuit.
Yeah.
So it's rare. I don't think a lot of kids are motivated by that. But if you can incentivize it, if you can gamify that, who doesn't like winning? Everyone likes winning. Yeah. Some people hate losing more.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can find a good, I don't care what anyone says, the sweetness of winning is far better than the bitterness of losing. Yeah. So the sweetness of Iman, that it comes from when you've lost a lot. That's why I said in the beginning of the Hajj, if you go through, come with few bruises, at the end you finish the Hajj, and then you feel amazing. Yeah. So I say with the Hifdh, if you can get your son or your daughter to compete, yeah, either against themselves or maybe against someone else who's also doing Hifdh, that would be very good. That definitely got me through it. Yeah.
Beautiful, mashallah. And last question. Last question. And that last question is there a book that you read recently that's actually changed something in your life?
I read a book recently. It was called Range. A friend gave it to me. It hasn't changed my life, but it allowed me to look at things very differently, like your skill set. And it's a book that emphasizes the value of generalists, people who are good at a lot of things but don't super specialize in one area, and how they can be of huge value to a company, to a profession. So I think that allowed me to change perspective, because there's so many opportunities now with my skill set. I'm just in law, but I can actually also go in different areas. But it takes a lot of courage to do that and an incentive to do it. So he gave me that book to help me see a different world. And yeah. So I'm not a huge fan of these, these books that help you like see things in it outside. There's so many of them, yeah. But I think Range was a good one in that it helps you discover your range. So
Yeah,
I would say that's I would recommend that. Also, recently I read when I was in Hajj, I read a Seerah book by Muhyiddin, sorry. Yeah, it's just the Seerah of the Prophet ﷺ. It was quite good. It's like a very modern perspective on the Seerah, and it's very beautifully organized.
inshallah.
Actually, yeah, it was gifted to me by my wife, so I had to read it. Yeah, but it was very good. It was very good. Yeah.
Allahumma barik, Allahumma barik. And you were told to come on the podcast, so you had to come on the podcast.
Subhanallah, what I would say, what, I'll share this to you at the end, but since we're at the end. When you launched this podcast, I thought it was such an amazing thing. These stories are really cool. Different people being inspired by different stories. And I thought I had a fairly interesting story to share. So I wanted to come on the podcast. This is like 4 years ago. Yeah. Because a friend of mine came on the podcast.
Yes.
And I just got carried away by that. And I didn't renew my intention. Like, am I going there just because it's going to be a cool thing, or am I going there to benefit others? And I remember he told me at the time, he goes, then maybe you're not ready to go on, because that's not the right intention. You should be asked to come on, isn't it? So I remember there, I said, if it's right for me in my life, and if my intentions are right, it will come to me. I won't have to do anything. Yeah? If I wanted to, I could have got in touch with you. The same way you got in touch, I could have easily found you, isn't it? But I think if it's right for me, it'll come to me. And subhanAllah, 4 years later, I go Hajj, everything, and then that's when you contact me. And I feel like I was kind of ready. I had a better perspective on things, and I was able to renew my intentions. So inshallah, some goodness, some benefit comes from this.
No, honestly, I've been massively inspired. I've learned a lot, subhanAllah. And I'm sure this is going to be super, super beneficial. And honestly, wallahi, there's when you read the Qur'an, Allah Azza wa Jalla says, إِنَّمَا عَلَيْكَ الْبَلَاغِ, only upon you is conveying. وَعَلَيْنَا الْحِسَابِ, إِنَّمَا أَنْتَ نَذِيرٌ, you, Ya Rasulullah, you're just a messenger. Don't, the end result is in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
So, إِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَ, like, you cannot guide the people you love. Like Abu Talib, you couldn't do it. Such an amazing verse.
La ilaha illallah.
So you just have to.
And something that you consider so normal in your life, such a normal understanding, someone hears it out there, and it completely and I've had those examples. SubhanAllah, I've seen people, mashayikh. I've been with mashayikh, and someone's come up to the shaykh and said to him, "Ya shaykh, years ago you said this." The shaykh can't even remember he said that, and the shaykh's like, he just mentioned it as a side point. That wasn't even the main. And he said, that thing you said changed my entire life.
Why envisage on the Day of Judgment, you think you did a certain number of good. Oh yeah, I did that Hajj, there's the reward there. or I did that fast. And then there would be like mountain of reward. Where did that come from? I have no idea.
Allahu Akbar.
And it could be from like things you said in your own life, or your descendants, or people down the line.
Allahu Akbar.
So that's why I wanted to also do this product, because it's going to stay online. And even like the Iqbal Khan story, that's online, that's been immortalized, you could say. Someone might be inspired by that. And it's played again. So on the judgment, I'll see, like, inshallah.
Ya Rabbi, ya
Yeah,
Rabbi,
do you see
ya
the same with this? Some people, hopefully, inshallah, people are inspired.
100%.
And
100%.
yeah.
And to end on this, to end where we are now, which is, what does, yani, obviously, as much as you want to go into it, share, what does your current schedule and life look like as someone that's working, for example, in a corporate or law? And what does your relationship with the Qur'an look like now?
I will admit, the older you get, the harder it gets. Yeah. Work consumes you. When you come home, you're tired. A lot of people, what do they do when they come home? They might watch a TV series, Netflix, something. It's not always wrong, but I would say in the morning, because the Prophet ﷺ said for this ummah, the barakah is in the mornings. So I would say in the mornings, before you go, just sit there and I say always use a physical mushaf. Don't use your. I also use my phone sometimes when I'm on the train or whatever. But I'm saying that morning routine. Get the Qur'an, open it. You can feel the pages.
Beautiful.
I still have my mushaf. That's my most prized possession. My mushaf since I was 10 years old. You know that first person who taught me Surah Mulk and Surah Yasin. He gave me that mushaf. So he has all that reward that I recite. He gave me that. That's my most prized. When I went Hajj, I protected that mushaf more than my passport. I didn't care. I can always replace my passport. I can't replace that mushaf. It's like my baby. I can see which pages. Some pages are creased. I said, I know how that happened. All of this. You have that personal relationship with that mushaf. So I have it. So I would say in the morning, touch that Quran, recite. Just a portion, one ruba, it doesn't matter. Just that you maintain that routine. And I would encourage, and we didn't get to this, but Taraweeh. Taraweeh helps so much with your revision. 1 month's revision of Taraweeh is enough to get you by the whole year, where you don't have to super focus and revise. You can just recite, but you won't forget.
That intensive.
Yeah, because it's so intense. The fear of embarrassment that I'll mess up the salah, everyone's salah, that would really force you to really...
Yeah, it's the amana, right?
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah. And it really... Yeah. We didn't get to the... I have so many Taraweeh stories. It's funny,
Yeah.
I'll tell you one story just before we finish. It's hilarious. So I respect someone who has that courage to lead, because I was that kid. Yeah. So I remember one year I was the main imam, and one boy, I don't know how old he was, 14, 15 maybe. He goes, Imam Abubakr, can I lead the witr? I said, but witr includes the qunut. Can you do that? He goes, no, I can do it. I said, oh, mashallah. Yeah. So he then leads, and he led Sabih Isma. He made a mistake in the first rakah in the witr. Then Surah Kafirun, he makes a mistake. He's so nervous. I said, Ya Allah, yeah. And then Surah Ikhlas, he got through, but Surah Kafirun made mistakes, confusing. Then he did the qunut. He starts forgetting the du'as. People are correcting from behind how the du'a ends. And then I thought, okay, just go to ruku. You've messed it up. Just go to ruku. He starts saying the janaza du'a. And everyone's like, oh my God, Allahumma hayna. I was like, Ya Allah. And then at the end, he salams, and everyone's looking at me. How did you let him lead? Why did you let him lead? I said, maybe this was a bit mean. I just went to him. I said, you let me down. Now I'm going to get in trouble. And he felt a bit things, and he starts saying sorry to me. I said, oh, sorry, sir, I was a bit harsh on you. Yeah. But it shows, it's also a responsibility. You're the imam, you're the leader. The buck stops with you, isn't it? But I found that story very funny. And but there's loads of stories like this. You know how people take it personally if you correct them, things like this.
Yeah.
I remember one guy, the imam corrected him. He goes, you want to play like that? You want to play like that?
Huh?
All right, we'll see. I was like, Ya Allah, come on, what's this?
As in after the salah.
You know when you have your debrief, yeah. What are you correcting me for? If you want to correct, we can correct. All right.
Ajib.
Yeah. I was like, I spoke to him afterwards. Yeah. So, yes, it's just
character development, character building, man.
It's so good. Like, and the musallis can annoy you, depending. So I've led in all kinds of messages. The small local ones where you have the elderly, sassas, and then you have the medium mosques that it's got a range of different people. And then you have the big establishment institutions. So you get the whole range. So it builds character, builds patience, builds understanding.
Yes.
You become far less judgmental, far more, you know how to. So you appreciate also the imam's role in your community.
100%.
So,
and there were some imams that even the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam reprimanded.
Yeah.
Right. We know the story of, I believe it was Mu'adh, the Sahabi Mu'adh. We can check this after, inshallah ta'ala, and put his name here on the screen. He was set as an imam in a part of Al-Madinah, and he would lead long.
Yeah.
And some people came to the Rasul sallallahu they complained about this. Rasul sallallahu you put them in fitna, you know, or to the companion, because even like people have work or people, so you need to understand how to, you know, someone might want to lead Taraweeh.
Even I remember, like, you know, tashahhud.
Yes.
I can do it quite quickly, but a lot of uncles, they take their time saying, so you can't also be too quick.
There we go.
I got complaints after, it's like, Abubakr, you're leading, so you have to accommodate, you know. So
and you can relate to the more to the role of the Anbiya, because they were leaders, and you realize they, you know, like just being an imam, right, which is nothing compared to that responsibility. That an imam was just part of that responsibility. They were leaders in across many other verticals of society, but being an imam, standing in a mihrab, you're following in their footsteps, and it allows you to have more empathy for that and relate more to that and say, subhanallah, what they took on. The amana they took on was something immense. You know, this is 30 days or 29 nights, and then after that, you need another 11 months to recover.
See, like, even for a month, you're like famous for a month, because everyone afterwards wants to come speak to you, give salam to you. Everyone checks what you're wearing, or, you know, do you see? So it's very good, I think, managing your ego, managing your niyyah, managing purity, all of these things. So someone has to do it. I used to struggle with this, like. I used to not want to lead salah because I was worried I might get to my heart, I'm leading all the time. But you have a duty. That's your problem. That's your nafs. You do your duty.
Yeah.
You have
and
to
work on it.
Exactly. So that's how.
Yeah. I think this conversation has been very real, mashallah, and it's been very practical and relatable to a lot of people.
I hope so, inshallah.
Right? Yeah. Because now anyone that has this misunderstanding that you have to be perfect to go into this. No, we're not sugarcoating it and saying you just go in, just accept it and just go into and take any role. No, make sure you're suitable for the role. Check your niyyah, work on it, take the asbab, and bismillah, tawakkal ala Allah. But don't deprive yourself from the hifdh journey because you think your heart is like this.
I would say that all you need is a good motivation, a good teacher. I was blessed with a very good hifdh teacher. I'm still in contact with him. He was very strict with me, and he was very demanding of me, but he helped me. So get a good teacher, get good routine, motivation. Well, like, there's so many opportunities now. Zoom call, you can find a sheikh. It's much cheaper online. You can do it easily. 100%. In person as well, it's very good value. There's really if you really want to do it, there's no excuse. As in, you can do it. The means are there.
Yes,
it's much easier these days.
Definitely.
And everyone knows someone who's a Hafidh. Everyone nowadays, especially if you live in London, it's a big Muslim property. Everyone knows someone. So you could find a teacher. You could find someone to take your lesson.
Yes, 100%. If anyone wants to find your anything online about yourself?
You won't find me online. I don't have any. I have a LinkedIn account, I guess. So you could find me there, but I'm not on social media, nothing. I try to keep a low profile, but I thought I'd do this just to give something back, maybe, perhaps.
No, amazing. It has given a lot back. First of all, to myself, and inshallah ta'ala to all the families and people watching from wherever they're watching from in the world. Inshallah. And inshallah, for anyone that's listening, let us know what resonated with you the most, and what you feel like, you know, inshallah ta'ala is a key takeaway for yourself on this journey. And bi'idhnillah ta'ala, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept it from yourself.
Inshallah, ameen.
For you coming down.
Jazakallah for inviting me. This is a huge pleasure of mine.
It's my honor, my pleasure. And I appreciate as well that you've just come back from travel and you must be super tired.
No,
busy.
I'm good. I don't live far from here.
Alhamdulillah. Well, it's quite fun. Well, I don't say funny, but perhaps it's a full circle moment, in the sense that you...
This is the area that I did my hifdh, yeah. So it's kind of,
For those that don't know London, like, this is literally around the corner from...
East London Mosque is 5 minutes from here?
Yes.
Yeah. So
who knew that? Did you think that you might be here speaking about this journey?
SubhanAllah.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Amazing. So if people want to drop you a message or anything, they can find your LinkedIn, inshallah ta'ala. Maybe we'll link it if you're happy with it, inshallah ta'ala.
Yeah.
They always get mashallah questions and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept it from us.
Amen.
To accept your Hajj and all the Hujjaj that went this year, to accept it from them, to allow us to be from the Hujjaj next year, and those that are watching, bi'idhnillah. And any final words that you like, any messages that you like to kind of leave as a parting, conclusion or advice, your wada'a for the Hifdhstatus podcast, inshallah.
Oh, just picture this image that the Hadith of the Prophet ﷺ said. You will, on the Day of Judgment, people who had a relationship with the Qur'an, they will be told to recite, and they will recite how much ever they recited in this dunya, and their level will just go up until they can't read anymore. So if you just picture that, it doesn't matter if you're a Hafidh or you're not, but if you have a good relationship with the Qur'an and you're someone who regularly recited, you'll be on that day, everyone looking at you, and your level is going up, 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 up. So picture that, and inshallah you'll be, like you said, you'll be with those whom you love. So if you love the people of the Qur'an, you'll be with the people of the Qur'an, the Ahlul Qur'an, inshallah.
Ya Rab, may Allah make us from them.
Ameen.
Jazakumullah khair, Shaykh, for your time today.
Barakallah
fikum. Nafa'allah bikum Islam and Muslimin. And Jazakumullah khair to all the viewers who tuned in today. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you, accept from you. As always, Jazakumullah khair, wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala sayyidina wa habibina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.